Chapter 1794. After such a long time, these 100 million soul beasts had finally been raised, and Zhao Fu was pleasantly surprised. Looking at the soul beasts flying in the sky, Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and grabbed at the air. A powerful energy flowed out and turned into a massive hand that grabbed an elderly soul beast in front of him. This elderly soul beast's gaze was incredibly vicious and cold, but it also looked at Zhao Fu with fear. Even though it had lost its memories, it was filled with resentment towards Zhao Fu. However, because of the soul beast's heart, it instinctively feared Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at the soul beast's strength, and he found that it was already at stage 1 to 3. Being able to nurture a ghost with stage 1 strength like this was quite surprising. Roar! 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 The soul beasts flying in the sky discovered Zhao Fu's existence and looked at Zhao Fu hatefully. They gave off terrifying howls and gave off ferocious auras as they rushed over. Just like the elderly soul beast, they were filled with resentment towards Zhao Fu. After all, their homes had been conquered by Qin, their families had been killed by Qin, and they had been cruelly buried alive to be turned into soul beasts. Zhao Fu was the master of Qin City, so their resentment was naturally focused on Zhao Fu. Now that they saw Zhao Fu standing in the air, they immediately rushed over. The 100 million soul beasts flooded over like a tsunami, giving off a terrifying aura. However, facing this aura, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear at all, and he did not even show any signs of moving. When the countless soul beasts came within 100 meters of Zhao Fu, they felt a sense of terror from their souls and instinctively spread out, surrounding Zhao Fu like a tsunami, leaving an empty space 100 meters around him as they looked at Zhao Fu in terror. Zhao Fu looked at the soul beasts around him and his gaze became cold as he grabbed at the air. The soul beast's heart immediately gave off boundless light. Arg! Countless howls of pain sounded out as the soul beasts felt intense pain in their heads. They could not bear it and felt as if they were going to die. After letting them scream for a while, Zhao Fu stopped, and the countless soul beasts became much more well-behaved. Because these soul beasts contained a lot of resentment and were incredibly savage, they required stage 1 ghost soldiers to control. If they were given to ordinary soldiers, they would definitely be devoured by the soul beast. Ignoring the soul beasts, Zhao Fu brought the elderly soul beast to the surface and called over a ghost soldier. These ghost soldiers were transformed from Qin's soldiers after they died. They had no memories of when they were alive, and they didn't have much emotional fluctuations. Their skin was pale and their expressions were cold. They only followed orders and didn't do anything else. Zhao Fu had the soul beast and ghost soldier stand together before grabbing at them. A wave of soul energy was drawn out by Zhao Fu, forming 2 thumb-sized orbs of light. Under Zhao Fu's control, the 2 orbs of light fused together, forming a single orb of light. Under Zhao Fu's control, it split into 2 talismans and shot towards the soul beast and ghost soldier, entering their foreheads. Now that the soul contract had been formed, the ghost soldier also had the power of the soul beast. Zhao Fu wanted to see how powerful the 2 of them would be when they fused together, so he had them fuse together. The soul beast entered the ghost soldier's body, and a massive wave of energy came out of the ghost soldier's body. The ghost soldier's appearance also changed, and he looked older. He no longer had an eyeball, only the whites of his eyes, and he gave off a sense of resentment. This was quite terrifying. What surprised Zhao Fu was that the ghost soldier's strength had reached stage 2, and his aura was not weak either. If he fused these 100 million soul beasts into the ghost soldiers, Qin would have 100 million stage 2 ghost soldiers, which was many times faster than ordinary cultivation. How could Zhao Fu not be pleasantly surprised? Now, Qin had a way to quickly increase the ghost soldier's strength. However, this method had 2 limitations, which were the number of ghost soldiers and the number of soul beasts. The number of ghost soldiers was limited by the 9 underworld royal seals, as Qin relied on the 9 underworld royal seals to control Qin's ghost soldiers. Without the 9 underworld royal seals, Qin would not be able to control these ghost soldiers. The 9 underworld royal seals were formed by absorbing large amounts of 9 underworld yin qi. However, because their various attributes had been weakened, the power of the ordinary royal seals had also been weakened, and the number of ghost soldiers that could be controlled had been greatly reduced. Right now, there were only 2 methods. The first was to continue to attack the world, destroy countless kingdoms, snatch their royal seals, and control a large number of Qin's ghost soldiers. The second method was not to rely on the 9 underworld royal seals, but to find another way to control Qin's ghost soldiers. In fact, Zhao Fu really wanted to use the second method, because many of Qin's soldiers had died over the years. Qin had always kept their corpses, but because of the 9 underworld royal seals, it was impossible to turn them all into ghost soldiers. If he could find that method, he would be able to turn all of Great Qin's soldiers' corpses into ghost soldiers. That way, after Great Qin's soldiers died, they would be able to turn into ghost soldiers, greatly reducing the amount of resources they expended in battle. Great Qin would also become more and more powerful. Unfortunately, this method was extremely difficult, and Zhao Fu did not make any progress. However, because it was so difficult, no one else had grasped this method. If it was easy, the other factions could also turn their soldiers into ghost soldiers after they died, greatly reducing the losses of war. Right now, he could only choose the first method, which was to continue to attack other kingdoms and steal their royal seals. At the same time, he had to find a way to control ghost soldiers and not be restricted by the 9 underworld royal seals. Right now, the battlefields were quite calm, and the outer world and alchemy world's royal seals were useless. They had to wait for an opportunity before they could attack and steal their royal seals. Zhao Fu looked at the Yin Soul beasts. There was not much of a limit to the number of Yin Soul beasts, so he could continue to nurture them. Moreover, not only could he nurture these Yin Soul beasts for a period of time, but he could also continuously nurture them. The Yin Soul beast's strength would not be limited to stage 1, and the longer they were nurtured, the more powerful they would be. When that time came, Qin would have stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5 Yin Soul beasts. If he fused these Yin Soul beasts with stage 2 and stage 3 soldiers, Qin would have stage 3 and stage 4 soldiers. That way, Qin's strength would be terrifying, and it would not be any weaker than the Heaven Domain's factions. Chapter 1795. This method of nurturing Yin Soul beasts was incredibly important to the Nether Spirit Empire. Back then, the Nether Spirit Empire had become powerful because of this method. If it wasn't for the fact that they had made too many enemies, they would not have ended up like this, and they might still exist. Now that Zhao Fu had obtained this method, he definitely had to use it and could not waste such a good thing. Finally, there were the materials for nurturing Yin Soul beasts, which were people. Even though wild beasts could also become Yin Soul beasts, they did not have high intelligence and could not produce much resentment, so it was difficult for them to become Yin Soul beasts. Even if they did become Yin Soul beasts, they would not be very powerful. As such, the most suitable materials for Yin Soul beasts were countless people. Using people as materials would make it easier to form Yin Soul beasts, and their grade would be higher. Zhao Fu originally wanted to nurture 500 million Yin Soul beasts, but there was no war, so there were not that many people making Yin Soul beasts. Of course, it was impossible to use Qin City's residents to make Yin Soul beasts. The insect beasts of the outer world could not be used as materials, and the people of the Golden World could not be used either. Moreover, Qin City was suppressed by the Golden World and could not expand, nor could it plunder a large number of people from the Golden World. The remaining battlefields were the Underworld battlefield and the Heaven Awakened battlefield, and the people from those 2 battlefields were more suitable. The people from the Underworld were the most suitable, as they were of the Yin attribute. If they were made into Yin soul beasts, they would be quite powerful and of higher grade. If there was a chance, Zhao Fu could start a large-scale war in the underworld and plunder a large number of people. He would bury those who were not willing to submit and the enemy soldiers alive and turn them into Yin soul beasts. However, the problem of the Golden World had not been resolved yet, and Zhao Fu could not start a large-scale war in the underworld. He could only slowly make Yin soul beasts. After thinking about this matter, Zhao Fu put it aside and called over 100 million ghost soldiers to sign contracts with the Yin soul beasts. Seeing the stage 2 auras explode out, Zhao Fu revealed a satisfied smile. Qin now had 100 million stage 2 Yin soldiers. This could slightly alleviate the pressure from the alchemy world. The alchemy world's basic soldiers were all stage 2, and Qin did not have that many stage 2 soldiers. If too many alchemy world soldiers attacked, Qin would not be able to resist. After dealing with this matter, Zhao Fu was about to return to Qin's underground palace when a soldier came up and reported respectfully, "Your Majesty, the Yin world's Yellow Springs Kingdom has business for you." Hearing this, Zhao Fu could not help but lightly laugh. Before, he had wanted to go to the underworld to have a look, and now he could take this opportunity to have a look. He also wondered why the Yellow Springs Kingdom was looking for him. After a while, Zhao Fu arrived at the underworld Yellow Springs Kingdom. Huang Quanling gave a trace of a smile as she went up and hugged Zhao Fu as she said, "Husband, I have 2 good things for you." Zhao Fu smiled as he asked, "What are they?" Huang Quanling smiled as she took out 2 crystals. They were rhombus-shaped and were a few centimeters long. One was blue and gave off a faint blue light, and it gave off an illusory and cold aura. The other was black and gave off a faint black light, and it gave off a ferocious aura. Both of these crystals gave off powerful godly spirit auras because they were divinities. Husband, recently we've discovered many historical remnants in the regions we conquered, and these 2 divinities are our greatest gains. I heard that you've been looking for divinities, so I immediately notified you. Zhao Fu felt quite delighted. Qin was indeed looking for divinities because he needed to gather 24 godly spirits to open the door to the godly spirit world. Now Qin had 19 goddesses, and adding on these 2 divinities, he would only have 3 godly spirits left. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and looked at the 2 divinities. He found that the power they contained was not weak, and if he brought them back, he just needed to build a statue and give them some faith energy, and the 2 godly spirits would appear. Huang Quanling smiled as she explained to Zhao Fu, "Husband, this blue divinity belongs to a ghost god. This blue divine deity is the divine deity of a specter god. Its power is a little strange. Back then, my sisters and I spent a lot of effort to defeat it. That black divinity belongs to an evil ghost god, and it has terrifying power. The evil ghost god is also incredibly ferocious and aggressive, and it's even more difficult to deal with than a ghost god. However, we believe that husband will be able to tame it." Towards the end, Huang Quanling looked at Zhao Fu flirtatiously with her beautiful eyes. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and naturally understood what she meant. He stayed here for a while before returning to Qin and ordering people to build 2 statues and find 2 large pieces of Yin jade. Because the 2 godly spirits were of the Yin attribute, he found 2 pieces of Yin jade. The 2 pieces of Yin jade were 2 meters tall and did not have any carvings on them, and they stood on the divine stage. Zhao Fu first took out the ghost god's divinity and fused it into the Yin jade. The Yin jade gave off a blue light and started to go through changes. It gradually took on the shape of a person, and its appearance became clear. A figure appeared in front of Zhao Fu. It was a woman with gray hair that fell to her thighs. She wore a white robe and had a slim figure. Her feet were bare as she floated a few inches above the ground. Her long hair covered her face, so Zhao Fu could not see what she looked like. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and brushed aside her hair. The ghost god immediately seemed to be startled and retreated a few steps, looking quite embarrassed. Even though it was just for a moment, Zhao Fu could tell that she was quite beautiful. She had a pair of deep blue eyes and looked quite innocent. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Now, you are Qin's godly spirit, I won't harm you." The ghost god nodded. She could sense that the aura from Zhao Fu's body was quite terrifying, and she also needed faith power. Seeing that she agreed, Zhao Fu did not say anything else and smiled as he came to another god temple. He fused the black divinity into it, and the Yin jade gave off a faint black light and started to change, finally turning into the shape of a woman. A figure appeared in front of Zhao Fu. She had long black hair and a devil's horn on her forehead. She had a voluptuous figure and was quite beautiful, but she gave off a ferocious aura. As soon as she appeared, she attacked Zhao Fu. Of course, she was not a match for Zhao Fu. After being taught a lesson by Zhao Fu and using the god-slaying power and 6 desires demonic qi, as well as offering faith power, the ghost god finally agreed to become Qin's godly spirit. Chapter 1796. After returning to Qin, Zhao Fu went to another place. There were 2 research areas, and one was in charge of researching the alchemist. This alchemist was not an ordinary alchemist. It was the alchemy giant that Zhao Fu had captured last time. It was a dog-like monster that had devoured countless creatures and philosopher's stones. Zhao Fu had asked Mu Minxian about this, and she had heard that this sort of thing was not common in the alchemy world. After all, it was incredibly difficult to form something like this. Zhao Fu was quite surprised, and he had thought that this sort of thing was quite common in the alchemy world. He was quite interested in this sort of life form because this kind of life form was almost indestructible. No matter if one chopped off its head, pierced a large hole in its body, split it in half, burned it with fire, or frozen it with ice, it would still display powerful life force. Unless one blasted it into pieces, it would be impossible to kill it. Fortunately, there were not many of these alchemy creatures. If such an army attacked, even Qin would find it difficult to defend. Zhao Fu wanted to figure out what was going on. If he could figure it out, it would be of great help to Qin. After going to the research area, Zhao Fu saw a 10-meter-tall person with slender muscles, sharp teeth, and a pair of pure black eyes. This was the alchemist. The alchemist was curled up in a corner with a look of fear on his face, and he was no longer as ferocious and violent as before. After all, Qin had done countless cruel experiments on him, and even though he would not die, he would suffer immense pain. At that moment, he saw Zhao Fu, the person who had captured him, and he looked furious. He immediately became spirited and roared as he vigorously punched the cage, wanting to rush out and kill Zhao Fu. After all of this was caused by Zhao Fu. However, the cage was incredibly tough, and no matter how much he punched it, it was not damaged at all. The researchers next to him immediately took out a few darts and threw them. The darts pierced into the alchemy giant's body, and the alchemy giant's body quickly fell to the ground. "Please forgive me, Your Majesty." The researchers nervously bowed to Zhao Fu. After all, the alchemy giant's actions had clearly offended Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu didn't mind and asked, "How's your research going now? Also, what was that dart? Why did it make the alchemy giant lose its ability to fight after being hit?" A clean-looking middle-aged man came up and reported, "Your Majesty, it's been a long time. We've gained some information and learned the reason for the formation of the alchemy giant. Also, the dart was dipped in some strong paralyzing poison, specially developed for the alchemy giant." Hearing that he had gained something, Zhao Fu revealed a trace of a smile and said, "Tell me about it." The middle-aged man nodded and said, "This kind of alchemy giant is a high-level alchemy creature. In other words, it is a monster created by the power of alchemy. It is not born through reproduction or other method. This kind of high-level alchemy creature has a very powerful taboo power, and it is not bound by the world's laws in some aspects. If its power is fully stimulated, it will become very terrifying. Before, there were a few soldiers with much higher cultivation than it, and they were injured because of it. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. It seemed that the alchemy giants were quite extraordinary. The middle-aged man continued, "It's very difficult to form an alchemy giant. Not only does it need the same bloodline and power, but it also needs the freshest flesh. Moreover, even if these conditions are met, it may not be possible to create an alchemy giant. This is because the core of the alchemy giant is actually the Philosopher's Stone. It requires a powerful Philosopher's Stone to resonate with other creatures' Philosopher's Stones, which will automatically form an alchemy life formation that gathers countless flesh and blood, creating an alchemy giant. Under normal circumstances, it's very difficult for the Philosopher's Stone to resonate with other Philosopher's Stones because the resonance is random and cannot be controlled. However, if we master this resonance method, we can mass-produce this kind of alchemy giant. Right now, this subordinate is also researching this aspect, but we have not made much progress for the time being." Hearing the words mass-produce, Zhao Fu was shocked. If he could mass-produce alchemy giants, it would form a very terrifying army. Not to mention other powers, just the ability to be immortal was already very terrifying. Moreover, the alchemy giant was far stronger than people of the same level, and the power it could display was even more unimaginable. It would definitely become one of Qin's strongest trump cards. However, the resonance method was probably not so easy to research. Thinking of this, Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Then continue your research. Report to me as soon as you have any result." The middle-aged man obeyed. Zhao Fu smiled as he turned and left, intending to head to the next research location. As for the caged alchemy giant, it was still angrily glaring at Zhao Fu. A while later, Zhao Fu arrived at another research location. This research location was very large, tens of thousands of meters wide, and at the center was a huge mechanical tortoise that was tens of thousands of meters wide. This was the Saint War Beast that had been sealed. Although Zhao Fu already knew how to control the Saint War Beast, as long as he destroyed an alchemist family and took possession of the family's fusion with the nest, he should be able to control the Saint War Beast. However, right now, Qin was very passive in the alchemy world. It could be said that he was suppressed by the alchemy world and could not expand at all. How could he destroy an alchemist family? As such, Zhao Fu wanted to research these Saint War Beasts. He wanted to find a way to suppress them while also researching their weaknesses. The power that the Saint War Beasts exploded out with was quite a headache. Now, Qin had the ability to restrain it, which was to use disaster pearls. However, there were not that many disaster pearls, and it was possible that the alchemists would be prepared next time. Zhao Fu still needed to fix the weaknesses of the Saint War Beasts, and in the next battle, he would deal a heavy blow to the alchemy world's Saint War Beast. Because Mu Minxian was a member of the alchemist family, she understood these things, so she also came to help with research. When Zhao Fu arrived, all of the researchers stopped what they were doing and saluted him. Mu Minxian also came to Zhao Fu's side and respectfully said, "Greetings, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu laughed and asked, "How is the research on the Saint War Beasts going? Can Qin also create Saint War Beasts?" Chapter 1797. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and asked, "As someone from a family, you should know how to nurture a Saint War Beast. Why haven't you made any progress?" Mu Minxian explained, "Nurturing a Saint War Beast requires a family's legacy power to fuse with the Denver. Only then will the creature's spawn be bound to the family. This isn't too difficult. Qin has destroyed countless families, and their legacy stones can fuse with ordinary dens. The creature's spawn will also be bound to the family. But the power core is different. The life forms spawned by the fusion of the alchemy world's families and the alchemy world's layers have very powerful inherited alchemy power. This kind of inherited alchemy power contains a kind of alchemy source power of the alchemy world. It is very complex and mysterious. It is because of this that Saint War beasts are so powerful. The creatures spawned from the fusion of a family and a den will only be bound to the family and will not have any special power. This makes it impossible to create Saint War beasts, and the method of nurturing Saint War beasts is completely useless. Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed. The rules of the two worlds were different, and it would be incredibly difficult to change them. Successfully researching Saint War beasts would not be as easy as researching the Philosopher's Stone. However, Zhao Fu had already understood the Philosopher's Stone, but he lacked the materials to mass-produce it. As such, it would be possible to successfully research Saint War beasts. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu wanted to research it. He wanted to see the alchemy world's legacy power and the den power. If he could understand those two powers, it would be much easier. However, he found that Qin did not have a family's legacy stone or a den, so he could not research them at all. Zhao Fu could only give up and ask how the alchemy world had nurtured such terrifying Saint War beasts and what their weaknesses were. The alchemy world's people would most likely understand. Following this, Zhao Fu heard Mu Minxian's explanation and understood the method of nurturing Saint War beasts. First, it was very difficult for creatures to spawn from dens, and only one would spawn every month or so. 50% of the creatures that spawned were mechanized, and they were quite big. At first, the Saint War beasts were 50 meters long, and their strength was around stage 7. However, because of their size, they were much stronger than ordinary stage 7 humans. Moreover, the alchemy family had a clear goal from the beginning, and that was to build a war machine. Therefore, they would not develop in any other direction, and they would focus on nurturing the holy beast of war. After the alchemy holy beast was born, it would be placed in a huge alchemy array. Every day, a huge amount of alchemy world power would be gathered and poured into it. Every day, it would be fed a large number of philosopher's stones of the same attribute. Under such vigorous nurturing, the alchemy sacred beast would also become stronger and bigger. At the same time, the alchemist family would also modify the war saint beast. They would first use a kind of secret skill to make cannons grow between the war saint beasts. They would then use all kinds of alchemy incantations to transform the war saint beasts into half-mechanical, half-living existences. These holy beasts would continue to grow like ordinary creatures, and they would also have simple biological abilities, such as sensing their surroundings and identifying enemies. They could also be like machines, without any thoughts, without any emotions, and without any resistance. They would resolutely carry out orders, so there was no need to worry about any backlash from these holy beasts. It seemed that a long time ago, there had been a huge calamity in the alchemy world. It was precisely those war saint beasts that caused a large-scale backlash. Countless alchemy races could no longer control them, and the two sides started a world-destroying war. In that war, countless people died, countless families were destroyed, and countless life forms went extinct. It was the most terrifying war in the history of the alchemy world. That war had also greatly damaged the alchemy world's vitality, and it had yet to recover. This meant that the alchemy world that was fighting against the heaven-awakened world was still in a weakened state and not at its peak. At that time, the lowest war saint beasts were tens of thousands of meters long, and many war saint beasts could be found everywhere in a world. There were even ultimate emperor beasts that were as big as 1,000 worlds. Just thinking about it, one could imagine how terrifying these war saint beasts were. The cannons on their bodies shot out terrifying beams of light that could shoot towards every part of the world. That round of bombardment could shatter the world, and there would not be a single place left unscathed. Everything would be destroyed. In the end, using some unknown method, the alchemy race still won and destroyed countless war saint beasts. Now there were traces of battle in some places. The most famous was the ultimate Emperor Forbidden Land, which was where the remains of the ultimate emperor beast that was as big as 1,000 worlds were left behind. It was said that 10 or so celestials had worked together to destroy it, but many celestials had died. That place was one of the scariest forbidden lands in the alchemy world, and even an emperor-level family faction did not dare to explore it. Because of this backlash, the alchemy race had learned their lesson and wiped out the War Saint Beast's self-awareness. They would not have any emotions or thoughts, and they would not suffer any backlash. The combination of life and machinery preserved the War Saint Beast's abilities to the greatest extent, as they could continue to grow and would not resist. Because of these reasons, the War Saint Beasts had come to be. Zhao Fu was quite shocked that such a powerful alchemy world was still in a weakened state. If it was at its peak, how powerful would it be? A world-class War Saint Beast would probably be able to wipe out Qin's outpost with a single wave of bombardment. This was the first time he had heard about such a major event in the alchemy world, and Zhao Fu was very interested. He continued to ask about it, and there were many shocking pieces of information. It was said that the alchemy world was originally just a very ordinary small world that quietly moved through the boundless void. Even though its strength had been reduced, it had been relatively peaceful and had not encountered any dangers. Suddenly, one day, a massive metal meteor fell from the sky with terrifying power. It dragged a massive blood-red streak of light behind it as it smashed through the ground and shot into the place where the world core was. That terrifying power directly permeated the world core, and the world started to go through great changes. The sun became like a furnace, and the moon became like a mechanical moon. All the creatures that lived in it also started to become mechanical. In the end, the original alchemy world was formed, and that terrifying power was alchemy power. Chapter 1798. There was only one race in the alchemy world, which was the alchemy race. No matter where they lived, what food they ate, and what culture they had, they all belonged to the alchemy race. The people in the alchemy world all agreed with this. Unlike the Heaven Awakened world, which was split into 8 major races, which were split into countless races, the outer world only had 8 major races and did not have any smaller races. Zhao Fu felt that the situation in the alchemy world was better than in the Heaven Awakened world. Even though there were all sorts of battles, they all belonged to the same race and felt a sense of belonging. However, the Heaven Awakened world's 8 major races were directly opposed to each other, and there were also countless races of various sizes that fought against each other. Countless people died, and the consequences were quite severe. However, facing such a result, there was nothing that could be done about it. After all, races were innately different, and whether you wanted to or not, you were part of that race. Unless someone unified the 8 major races and formed a new race, no matter what race they belonged to, they would be part of that new race, and that new race would include all of the other races. However, Zhao Fu could only think about this because unifying the 8 major races was incredibly difficult. It was not something that ordinary people could do, and even celestials, emperors, and god kings would not be able to do it. For example, the King of Kings had only unified an outlander race and became the #1 person in the Heaven Awakened world in billions of years. His name would forever be remembered, respected, and looked up to even now. With the King of Kings' power, unifying an outlander race had such great effects. So what would unifying 8 major races be like? It was simply unimaginable. Even though this goal was quite far away, Zhao Fu wanted to become such a person and unify the Heaven Awakened world's 8 major races. Of course, right now, Zhao Fu could only think about it because Qin was still too weak. Even some powerful factions could destroy Qin, so how could Qin unify the Heaven Awakened world? In actuality, the alchemy world was doing quite well. No matter what world it conquered, it would assimilate all creatures in that world. No matter what race you belonged to, you would now be part of the alchemy race. However, the Heaven Awakened world was not like this, and Zhao Fu guessed that this was related to how the world had been formed. When the alchemy world had been formed, some of its laws and powers had stabilized. Hearing that the alchemy world had been formed from a meteor, Zhao Fu felt quite curious about how the heaven-awakened world had been formed and how the outer world had been formed. Within the boundless void there seemed to be countless worlds. There were many worlds like the heaven-awakened world, the alchemy world, and the outer world. The other small worlds were like grains of sand in a vast ocean. These gravel worlds would definitely be in a more dangerous situation and would be annexed by various larger worlds. If they wanted to be safe, they could only rely on luck. The endless void should also be in such a state, with worlds fighting against each other, devouring and merging with each other. Zhao Fu felt quite worried. If he could not stay in the heaven-awakened world and entered the boundless void, where would Qin go? If he was not careful, he might be devoured by other worlds. This would be a true world war, and it would not be a war between two races but a war between the origins of two worlds. No matter if it was humans, animals, plants, insects, or even rocks, not a single one would be able to escape. At the same time, Zhao Fu had an even more shocking thought, which was whether the heaven-awakened world was the biggest world, and were there even bigger worlds in the endless void? With Zhao Fu's current strength, he would not be able to figure this out, and he could only wait until he had enough strength in the future. Most likely, there would not be many people who knew about this. After hearing about how the alchemy world had been formed, Zhao Fu also heard about a person who was incredibly terrifying. Everyone in the alchemy world knew about him. He was the source of all alchemy, the alchemy world's sage. The sage was the first person to create alchemy, and he was the person who had created the alchemy world before the small worlds had become the alchemy world. The sage stone within the sage's body was named after him. Because so much time had passed, no one knew whether he was a man or a woman or what he looked like. However, his influence on the alchemy world had lasted from the beginning of the alchemy world to this world. All alchemy techniques, no matter how powerful, how they were cast, or what their attributes were, all originated from the alchemy world that he had created. That's right, the holy beasts were also a type of alchemy technique that the sage had created. They had become the alchemy race's most terrifying war machines, and they had slaughtered countless creatures. They had destroyed countless worlds. If he had not appeared in the alchemy world, who knew what the alchemy world would be like? There were no godly spirits in the alchemy world, and the existence of the sage was like a godly spirit in countless people's hearts. They were filled with worship, fervor, and respect. His position in the hearts of countless people in the alchemy world was unshakable. No matter how terrifying someone's power was or how much they contributed to the world, no one could compare to him. What's more, this sage was still alive because he had set up a heaven-refining pillar at the center of the alchemy world. This pillar was as thick as dozens of worlds and stretched straight into the sky. It seemed as if it could break through the sky and touch the boundless stars. There were countless alchemy runes engraved on it. The countless alchemy runes were filled with profoundness and had the power to scare gods and demons away. If one could comprehend them, they would have great gains, and many peerless experts would bitterly cultivate there. The heaven-refining pillar contained a trace of the sage's soul source, and if the heaven-refining pillar did not fall, it meant that the sage was still alive. Such a terrifying figure most likely surpassed celestials by many levels. Even celestials who could destroy the heavens and earth and twist space and time would not be able to withstand a single attack from such an existence. Fortunately, the sage had left the alchemy world a long time ago and entered the boundless void by himself. After such a long time, the sage had not returned, nor had there been any news of him. This was something to rejoice about. If such a terrifying figure participated in the war, who in the heaven-awakened world would be able to stop him? Zhao Fu had never heard of anyone on the same level as the sage in the heaven-awakened world. Zhao Fu felt incredibly shocked. After hearing about such a big thing in the alchemy world, He felt that the alchemy world was quite terrifying. Chapter 1799. Suddenly, a Qin soldier hurriedly came up and reported, "Your Majesty, something urgent has happened. A large mysterious army is attacking towards Qin." Something urgent has happened. A large mysterious army is attacking Great Qin. Your Majesty, please return to the Great Qin Imperial Palace to deal with it. Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite startled. A large mysterious army? What kind of army is this? Why are they attacking Qin? Zhao Fu did not understand, and he hurriedly returned to Qin. Li Si came to Zhao Fu's side and hurriedly reported, "Your Majesty, this army has around 8 billion soldiers, but they are all Stage 2 soldiers. There are roughly 8 billion soldiers in this army, but they are all Stage 2 soldiers. They are extremely secretive, and are incredibly fast towards Great Qin. Fortunately, Qin's intelligence network covers the surrounding 100 worlds, so we were able to discover this army." Zhao Fu frowned. 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers was equivalent to 40 billion Stage 1 soldiers. Just who was attacking Qin and using such stealthy methods? Zhao Fu asked Li Si, "Have you found out who that army is?" Li Si shook his head and said, "We haven't found out yet." Zhao Fu thought to himself and lightly nodded before saying, "Bring back some soldiers from the underworld and outer world, and have the alchemy world enter a state of alert to prevent an attack from the alchemy world." These 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers were equivalent to 40 billion Stage 1 soldiers. Great Qin only had 40 billion or so soldiers in total, and more than half of the Stage 2 soldiers were stationed in the alchemy world. There was also a large portion of the underworld chaotic world and underworld's army, as well as the Second Wind God Empire and Devil Horn Empire. Facing the incoming 8 billion soldiers, Qin was in quite a predicament. Li Si obeyed and quickly left to pass on Zhao Fu's orders. Immediately, Qin started to turn into a war machine, and the air became oppressive as an austere aura spread out in all directions. The forces in the vicinity also noticed this. The Devil Horn Empire's Yao Ming could not help but loudly laugh. He felt that Qin was definitely in trouble. 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers would not be easy to deal with, and Qin would have to bear a lot of pressure. Even though he was not sure if these 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers would be able to destroy Great Qin, if he stabbed Great Qin from the side while they were fighting, even if Great Qin did not die, it would be crippled. He would be able to take revenge for his enmity, hatred, and anger. To Yao Ming, destroying Great Qin was his life's dream. As long as he could destroy Qin, he would do anything. This was an important opportunity to destroy Qin, so Yao Ming immediately gathered his ministers and soldiers, preparing to attack at any moment. The second was the Aeolian Empire. After Feng Xunsha heard about this, she felt quite surprised. Qin had offended many people, and she did not know when he had offended them for them to cross such a long distance to attack Qin. Based on the fact that most of the soldiers were at Stage 2, the attacker was definitely a royal kingdom of the inner region. How would Qin deal with this? Feng Xunsha felt quite interested. She was also quite concerned. If Qin was destroyed, what would the situation here be like? Her second Aeolian Empire did not have deep enmity with Qin, mainly because of the First Wind God. As such, she was not in a rush to destroy Qin. What she was worried about was that if Qin was destroyed, only the Second Wind God and the Devil Horn Empire would be left, and they would have to face the alliance of 30 or so worlds. Before, with Qin, the Devil Horn Empire, and the Second Wind God, they would be able to resist the alliance, and the alliance would not dare to do anything to them. However, if Qin was destroyed, only the Devil Horn Empire and the Second Wind God would be left, which would be quite disadvantageous. However, she was not sure what the situation would be like, so she gathered countless soldiers and prepared to deal with any danger that might appear at any moment. As for the final alliance, they felt quite troubled because that mysterious army had come from their direction to attack Qin. They were still within the alliance's territory, and they did not put them in their eyes at all. Moreover, that mysterious army had come to destroy Qin. If it was before, they would have welcomed the mysterious army to destroy Qin. However, their relationship had eased up, and there were natural disasters all around for Qin to deal with. As such, they were not willing to destroy Qin, but they understood the threat that Qin posed, so they gathered the various factions to discuss. Of course, they could not help Qin, so they had two choices: watch from the side or take the initiative to attack Qin while the two sides were fighting. It was possible that they could destroy Qin. Now, Qin was in the limelight, and the danger that he posed seemed to be greater than that of the Devil Horn Empire and the Second Wind God. In the end, they could not decide whether to watch from the side or take the initiative to attack Qin. They were not sure, but they gathered all of their armies to see how the situation developed. The actions of the various factions caused the situation to become incredibly serious and austere. Even the ordinary people who did not know anything understood that something big was about to happen. Not too long later, the 8 billion Stage 2 army gave off terrifying auras as they flooded towards Qin's defensive wall. They were all dressed in fiery red armor, and when gathered together, they looked like a sea of flames that could incinerate everything. Sensing this terrifying aura, countless birds flew into the sky in terror, countless beasts ran in fear, and insects hid, not daring to make a sound. On Qin's side, countless soldiers gathered together, numbering roughly 20 billion soldiers. Now, Qin was facing the Devil Horn Empire to the north, which required 100 billion soldiers to defend. The Second Wind God Empire to the east also required 10 billion soldiers. Their strength was about the same as Qin's, so they had to defend heavily. The 10 billion soldiers might not be enough, and if the two of them took this opportunity to attack, Qin would face immense difficulties. The west was where the mysterious army was coming from, and it was where Qin and the alliance had come into contact. Now, the Outer World Army and the Underworld Army were both quite small, and Zhao Fu could only hope that nothing unexpected would happen in those two places. Soon, the two sides met, and Zhao Fu saw who it was that had led troops to attack Qin. What's more, it was someone he was familiar with. In the sky opposite them stood a group of experts. There were 3 people at the front, and one of them had fiery red hair and was around 30 years old. His strength was at the peak of the world realm. Chapter 1800. Back then, after Qin had won the war, some people had escaped from the human world and gone to other worlds, such as CG. Su Yan was one of them, and there had been no news of him for many years. Now, he had once again appeared before Qin. By now, Su Yan had changed quite a bit. He had lost his sharpness and had become very calm. His gaze was deep, and no one could tell what he was thinking. There was another person who was dressed in green and had a handsome face. He gave off a king's aura, and he was Li Baiqing, the legatee of the Li family and the ruler of the great Tang Empire. He was someone related to Zhao Fu by blood. Now, his aura was much calmer and he looked much more mature. The aura he gave off was also quite powerful, and his gaze was cold and sharp. Back then, after the war had failed, many people who had enmity with Qin had escaped from the human world. They knew that with Qin's personality, they would all die horrible deaths. There were many of them, and they were not united. They all scattered and escaped to different places, not caring about where others escaped to. The most important thing was to protect their own lives. After Li Baiqing escaped from the human world, he ran into Su Yan, Zhang Heng, and the others. Back then, they all looked quite wretched and desolate because they had lost and had abandoned countless people and territories, escaping like stray dogs. No matter who it was, their expressions were quite unsightly. This was their greatest humiliation, but facing Qin's war of unification, they had lost completely and could not resist at all. Even though they did not want to admit it, they had to accept that Qin was the most powerful empire in the human world. Some people had planned to leave their homeland and not oppose Qin anymore. They had seen through this, and just wanted to live the rest of their lives in peace, and not care about the troubles of the world. Some people were quite unwilling, such as Li Baiqing. The great Tang Empire had been destroyed by the Qin Empire, and its people had been slaughtered by Qin. His parents, relatives, and the woman he loved the most, were all dead or alive. With Prince Qin's personality, he would definitely treat them very cruelly. He knew that the person Zhao Fu hated the most was his father, and he could not even imagine what kind of inhumane torture his father had suffered. Also, he had heard how licentious Zhao Fu was and how he liked other people's wives and mothers. Adding on Zhao Fu's hatred towards the Li family, it was very likely that Zhao Fu would rape his beloved woman, or even his mother. Thinking about his beloved woman and mother, who were constantly being violated by Zhao Fu, Li Baiqing kept crying and struggling, hoping that he could save them. He clenched his fists and clenched his fists. His nails pierced into his palms, causing blood to flow. How could he forget such great hatred? How could he choose to live the rest of his life? The idea of revenge filled his mind. Even though Zhao Fu was his half-brother, Li Baiqing would never accept it. Right now, he just wanted to tear Zhao Fu into 10,000 pieces and destroy Qin. At that time, it was a pitch-black night, and the night wind was gently blowing. A group of people were sitting around a bonfire, and the light from the bonfire illuminated everyone's faces. Li Baiqing's face looked quite savage. Su Yan was also quite unwilling. He had a proud personality and sat in a high position, looking down on everyone. In the beginning, he had not taken Qin seriously, and to him, Qin was just a chess piece. However, in the end, he had been defeated by Qin again and again. In the end, he had been forced to escape like a stray dog, which was the greatest shame of his life. Su Yan would not accept living an ordinary life, and destroying Qin was his life's greatest wish and his goal. Without this goal, he would lose his direction in life and his motivation to live. If he could not destroy Qin, he might as well choose to die. Seeing his senior apprentice brother like this, Zhang Heng sighed and said, "Senior apprentice brother, it's better to discover your obsession. The world is incredibly big, and with your talent, you'll shine wherever you go. There's no point in continuing to oppose Qin. Qin is simply too powerful, and with his potential, he won't be able to unify the human world. In the future, he'll definitely become the most terrifying faction here, and if you continue to oppose him, you might still lose to him. In the end, you'll really die at Qin's hands. Now that Qin has unified the human world, it's time to end things here and start a new life. We need to develop the legacy of the vertical and horizontal faction together." Su Yan said resolutely, "Junior apprentice brother, you don't need to persuade me anymore. I've already made up my mind. Perhaps my entire life is to destroy Qin. Even if I die at Qin's hands, I'll accept this outcome." After saying this, Su Yan took out a book and said solemnly, "Junior apprentice brother, this is the legacy book of my faction. It also contains some of my comprehensions. Help me find a good legatee, and I hope that he won't end up like me. In the end, please help me develop the vertical and horizontal faction." When Zhang Heng saw how resolute Su Yan was, he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He sighed and took the book. At that moment, Su Yan was in the crowd and noticed Li Baiqing. Seeing Li Baiqing's expression, Su Yan immediately understood the reason. Out of all the dynasties, the Great Tang Dynasty and the Qin Dynasty had the deepest enmity, and the ruler of Qin, Zhao Fu, hated the Great Tang Dynasty the most. Thinking about this, Su Yan smiled and came to Li Baiqing's side as he said, "Brother Li, I'm sure you won't give up on your hatred towards Qin. I'm sure you won't give up on your hatred towards Great Qin. If you want to destroy Great Qin, I'll do my best to help you." Li Baiqing looked at Su Yan. He naturally knew who Su Yan was and understood Su Yan's abilities. With the help of such a talented person, things would be much easier for him in the future. Thinking to there, Li Baiqing smiled and said, "Thank you, Brother Su, for your support. I believe that we'll make a comeback in the future and destroy Qin." Su Yan nodded seriously with a smile on his face. The two of them felt like old friends at first sight, so they sat together and began to converse, discussing in detail the great plan to rebel against Qin dynasty. Seeing this, Zhang Heng did not say anything because he understood that no matter what, he would not be able to change Su Yan's mind. Back then, Zhang Heng and Zhao Fu had met once. Back then, Zhao Fu had only revealed his aura, but he already had great potential. However, now that he had become the ruler of a human world, this was quite shocking. Zhang Heng wanted to help his senior apprentice brother destroy Qin, but this was not in line with his personality. Moreover, it was too difficult, and he did not know what would happen. Now was the best time to escape this vortex. If he fell into it, he would be doomed eternally. Chapter 1801. Su Yan and Li Baiqing already had a rough plan. First of all, they couldn't stay near Qin because they knew that with Qin Li's potential, he would become the overlord of this area in the future. If they stayed near Qin Li, they might be destroyed before they could develop further. They decided to go far away, and after half a year, they came to a place called the Fire Kingdom. At this time, something big happened in the Fire Kingdom. The king's beloved princess had gone missing, and the king had offered a great reward for finding the princess. The Fire Kingdom didn't have a prince, only 3 princesses, and there weren't any outstanding people in the branch families. Now, everyone was worried about the next king of the Fire Kingdom. Based on the current situation, no one had the ability to inherit the throne. Su Yan felt that the Fire Kingdom was very suitable for them to develop. The matter of finding the princess was also an opportunity, so he discussed it with Li Baiqing. Li Baiqing nodded in understanding. He felt that the Fire Kingdom's current situation was very beneficial to them, so they agreed to stay here and develop. Their first goal was to find the princess. If they lost this opportunity, their future plans would not succeed. This time they were a bit lucky. They didn't have to look for the princess for too long before the princess came to them. She was a very beautiful and lively girl, and she had been eating snacks on the street. Seeing that the Fire Kingdom had come to them, Su Yan didn't let Li Baiqing directly approach the princess, nor did he tell the soldiers that the princess was here. Apart from some rewards, they wouldn't be able to obtain anything else. Su Yan and Li Baiqing naturally didn't care about those small rewards. They needed something bigger, which was the power of the Fire Kingdom. They first investigated the princess, such as her personality, what she liked and what she disliked. After investigating all of this, Su Yan told Li Baiqing about his next plan, which was to create an opportunity for him to meet the Princess of Flame and make her fall in love with him. Then, he would directly become the son-in-law of Flame Kingdom, directly obtaining a portion of the kingdom's power. After gaining some power, they would slowly develop and devour the Fire Kingdom. Li Baiqing was a bit hesitant about this plan because the woman he loved was Yang Yan. However, for the sake of revenge, as well as the image of Yang Yan and his mother under Zhao Fu, Li Baiqing still agreed. A beautiful encounter began. That was the Fire Country's Spark Flower Festival. In the sky, there were many flame-like flowers that gave off a faint light. They covered the entire night sky, but they did not give off any heat. Contrasting with the sea of stars in the sky, the scene was extremely beautiful. The streets were bustling with activity. They wore fiery clothes, their faces full of joy as they celebrated the Spark Festival. The Flame Princess was also among them, and she had a happy smile on her face as she walked over with the crowd. She also looked around curiously, looking quite lively and cute. Suddenly, the crowd suddenly increased, and the Flame Princess felt someone bump into her. Then, she fell forward and fell into the arms of a young man. The Princess of Flame looked up and saw a handsome young man with a gentle smile on his face. His eyes were bright as he looked at her and asked with a trace of concern, "Are you all right?" Hearing those words, the Princess of Inferno's face reddened as she nodded her head. The youth smiled and said thoughtfully, "There are a lot of people here. Be careful and don't get hurt." The princess did not know why, but looking at the youth in front of her and smelling his aura, her heart rate sped up. Hearing his words of concern, she felt quite happy and sweet. The youth did not say anything and smiled as he left. Looking at the youth leaving, the Princess of Flame wanted to stop him and ask him what his name was, but she felt quite embarrassed because they had just met. After the event was over, the Flame Princess thought about that young man and regretted not asking for his name. She clearly cared about him a lot. At that moment, a few hooligans sinisterly laughed as they surrounded her and said, "Girl, you're really pretty. You're really pretty. Why don't you play with us?" The Princess of Flame frowned and looked at the hooligans in front of her angrily as she said, "Hurry up and leave before I get angry, or else I won't be polite to you." The hooligans loudly laughed as they said, "Really? We want to see how you'll be rude to us." The Princess of Flame was so angry that she wanted to teach those hooligans a lesson. However, a person suddenly appeared and knocked those hooligans to the ground. Seeing that person, the princess felt quite delighted and cried out, "It's you!" The youth also looked quite surprised and smiled as he said, "Why are you here?" The Princess of Flame's face became red and she lowered her head as she said embarrassedly, "Thank you for helping me again. May I know your name?" The youth gently smiled as he said, "Of course, I'm Li Baiqing." That was how they met, and the princess introduced herself but did not tell Li Baiqing's true identity. Following this, the two of them went sightseeing, and after half a year, they became quite close. The Princess of Flame fell in love with Li Baiqing, and her heart was completely focused on him. Over the next few days, Li Baiqing looked quite worried. The Princess of Flame worriedly asked him many times before she finally found out that Li Baiqing was the legatee of a dynasty. Now that his dynasty had fallen, he was on the run, and he was worried about his people and family. Hearing Li Baiqing talk about how bloodthirsty Great Qin was and how licentious Great Qin's legatee was, to the point that he could even rape someone else's mother, Zhao Fu became furious and expressed his willingness to help Li Baiqing. The Princess of Flame told Li Baiqing about her true identity, but she did not know that everything was going according to plan. Afterwards, the Princess of Flame and Li Baiqing got married, and he became her husband. He did not lie and told the Fire King about his identity, as the Fire Kingdom would definitely investigate him. If he was hiding anything, they would not believe him. After becoming the Fire Kingdom's son-in-law, he gained some power and displayed his abilities, winning the respect and admiration of many people, and his status gradually stabilized. After a few more years of development, Li Baiqing had become a person with great authority in the Fire Kingdom. He requested soldiers from the Fire Kingdom to lead the Fire Kingdom's army to destroy Great Qin. In the future, that place would be the Fire Kingdom's territory, and he would continue to serve the Fire Kingdom loyally. The Fire Kingdom thought about it for a while before agreeing to Li Baiqing's request. However, they did not give all of their military power to Li Baiqing, and they instead sent a general to destroy Qin. Chapter 1802. Long time no see. Li Baiqing stood in the sky and coldly looked at Zhao Fu as he slowly spoke. Zhao Fu looked quite disdainful as he said, "Why have two stray dogs come back? Aren't you afraid of being defeated by us again?" Li Baiqing coldly replied, "We've only come back to destroy Great Qin. This has become our life's belief. I don't know where you get your confidence from, but with Qin's viciousness, you've offended many people. This time, it's quite disadvantageous for you. You're only worried about Qin. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "We'll know after we try. Qin won't be destroyed so easily by people like you." Li Baiqing did not continue on this topic and coldly said, "What did you do to my parents and relatives? And how did you treat Yang Yuyan?" Zhao Fu gave a domineering laugh as he said, "Do whatever you want. That's right, your mother, grandmother, and that woman of yours are all doing well and are serving us in Qin's harem so that your father and grandfather can live." As expected, flames of fury burned in Li Baiqing's eyes, and they were filled with killing intent as he said in an extremely cold voice, "I'll make you pay back 10,000 times over. Start attacking. Kill." As Li Baiqing gave the order, the generals also gave the order to attack. Countless Flame Nation soldiers gave off powerful auras as they charged forwards, looking like a sea of flames that could burn everything. At that moment, the Flame Nation soldiers at the front raised a hand towards the city walls, and fire elemental essence quickly gathered, forming watermelon-sized fireballs that gave off intense heat. Swish, 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 the countless Flame Nation soldiers vigorously pushed, and the fireballs containing immense power quickly flew towards the city walls, leaving behind fiery traces of light. The temperature in the surroundings rose. Countless restrictions were activated on Qin's side, and a powerful aura spread out as a massive energy barrier appeared. Bang! 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 The fireballs slammed into the barrier and exploded, causing countless sparks to spread out like a rain of fire. After withstanding so many fireballs, the barrier started to crack. After all, these were fireballs cast by Stage 2 soldiers, and they were not weak at all. Fire! Qin's side also shot out arrows, and the arrows contained immense power as they tore through the air. They contained a sharp and massive aura as they poured down like a torrential rain. The Flame Empire soldiers immediately emitted a fiery aura, which formed a large fiery mist. The arrows that fell were all blocked by the fiery mist. Aside from a few soldiers who were scattered, they didn't deal much damage to the Flame Empire soldiers. The mist of fire did not dissipate, and it instead gathered at the center of the Flame Army, forming a massive fireball. It gave off a searing heat that seemed to be able to incinerate everything as it shot towards Great Qin's defensive walls. Bang! An incredibly massive explosion sounded out as the massive fireball gave off terrifying power as it slammed into the defensive barrier, resulting in an intense explosion. A fiery shockwave spread out with terrifying power. Crack, 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 countless shattering sounds could be heard. Countless cracks could be seen on the gigantic barrier before it shattered into pieces. Zhao Fu's eyes gave off a trace of coldness, and he took this opportunity to order his people to once again shoot out countless arrows. Boom! 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 Powerful rays of light containing incredibly sharp power and shocking auras tore through the sky, leaving behind traces of light as they shot towards the Flame Empire soldiers with unstoppable momentum. Apart from these rays of light, there were also crossbow bolts that were as thick as fingers that gave off immense power as they flew out. The soldiers at the front of the Flame Empire soldiers sensed immense danger, and their bodies once again gave off boundless fiery mist, forming a wall of fiery mist. Chi, 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 however, the rays of light containing shocking power shot into the fiery mist, tearing it apart and hitting the Flame Empire soldiers. Chi, 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 swish, swish. Following this, the crossbow bolts containing immense force descended, piercing through the Flame Empire soldiers' bodies. These were Qin's talisman bolts and Stage 2 crossbow bolts, and they were not so easy to defend against. It was just that Qin did not have many talisman bolts, or else the effects would have been even more shocking. Blood splattered and screams rang out continuously. Some of the Inferno Flame soldiers were directly shot to death, while others were only slightly injured. With the obstruction of the fire mist and the strength of the Inferno Flame soldiers, the rune arrows were not as terrifying as before. After receiving this attack, the Flame Empire soldiers furiously counterattacked, and fireballs containing terrifying power flew towards the defensive walls. Now that Qin had lost his defensive barrier, he could only rely on himself to defend. The shield-bearers went up and formed a shield wall that gave off boundless black light, forming a black barrier of light. Bang! 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 There were many fireballs, and they were incredibly powerful. As they hit the black barrier of light, they exploded, and in places where there were too many fireballs, the barrier of light was directly destroyed. Some of the fireballs landed on the defensive walls, sending some of Qin's soldiers flying. The defensive walls became quite chaotic, and blood flew everywhere as pitiful cries sounded out. However, the area affected was quite small. At that moment, the Flame Empire soldiers continued to give off a terrifying aura as they charged towards Qin. Qin's side also shot out countless arrows, causing some casualties. Even though Qin's side had the advantage in numbers, they were quite weak, and their arrows were easily blocked by the Flame Empire soldiers. However, the arrows were quite effective, and they weakened the Flame Empire soldiers' ferocious momentum. Suddenly, behind the army of Huiyan, a man wearing a fiery robe and holding a wooden staff appeared. They gave off massive auras as they raised their wooden staffs and chanted in a low voice. Massive amounts of fire elemental essence gathered, forming a massive fiery magic formation in the sky. This magic formation absorbed countless traces of heaven and earth power and gave off a faint fiery light. It also gave off a searing aura, dyeing the sky a fiery red, and the surrounding temperature rose. Boom! The massive fiery magic formation exploded out with a powerful aura, and countless orbs of orange flames descended from the sky like a rain of fire. They gave off an aura that seemed to be able to burn everything as they floated towards Qin's defensive walls. Qin's side immediately raised their shields, forming a massive black barrier of light that blocked the countless falling flames. However, the Flame Empire soldiers gave off massive auras and continued to charge out of Qin's defensive walls. Without the suppression of the arrows, the Flame Empire soldiers became incredibly ferocious. Roar! Roar! Chapter 1803. These were Qin City's insect den wyverns. In order to deal with this battle, Zhao Fu did not hold back at all. Boom! 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 The insect den wyverns opened their mouths and countless rays of light shot out from their mouth. Massive rays of light shot out from their mouths, giving off destructive power as they shot towards the Flame Army. The Flame Army sensed how terrifying those rays of light were and exploded out with power, wanting to defend against those rays of light. Bang! 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 The countless rays of light swept through the Flame Army, resulting in massive explosions. Countless Flame Army soldiers' bodies were blasted apart, causing blood and severed limbs to fly everywhere as howls continuously sounded out. Seeing this, Su Yan's eyes narrowed as he said, "General Yan, so it seems that Qin still has hidden his trump cards. Qin City has never used these wyverns before, but their power is still so shocking." Hearing this, Li Baiqing nodded and looked at the middle-aged man next to him as he said, "General Yan, it's time to go all out." General Yan, who was the middle-aged man, replied, Your enemy is quite terrifying. He's far more powerful than ordinary outer domain factions." After saying this, General Yan gave the order to attack. At the back of the Flame Army, people wearing red robes and holding magic staffs appeared. They were called fire mages. These fire mages exploded out with immense power as they raised their magic staffs and once again chanted. The surrounding fire elemental essence continuously gathered in the sky, forming massive fiery magic formations. Adding on the magic formation from before, there were 12 magic formations in total. They were lined up and continuously absorbed heaven and earth power, giving off fiery light. An incredibly fiery power spread out, and the sky became a fiery color as if it was burning. The temperature in the surroundings was quite high, and heat waves caused people to continuously sweat. Even from far away they could feel this heat. Boom! 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 The fiery magic formations exploded out with powerful auras and gave off intense fiery lights. Countless 1-meter-long firebirds flew out from the magic formations and quickly flew towards Qin City's city walls. There were simply too many of them to count. Bang! 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 Not only were the countless firebirds powerful, but their movements were also extremely agile. Some charged head-on, while others attacked from the sides, causing explosions to ring out. The shield formed by the shield-bearers continued to crack under such a concentrated barrage of attacks, before finally breaking apart. Countless flaming birds flocked over and landed among the soldiers, directly blasting Qin's soldiers away. Some were even blasted off the city walls. Qin's soldiers continuously brandished their weapons, attacking the flaming birds and defeating them. However, there were many of them and they were quite agile. As soon as they crashed into the crowd, they exploded, injuring many soldiers and causing the scene to become quite chaotic. Countless Flame Empire soldiers took this opportunity to give off powerful auras as they charged towards Great Qin. Zhao Fu looked at the 12 fire-colored magic formations in the sky and ordered people to bring out the ultimate dragon-slaying ballistae. Ballistae that were 300 meters long and gave off savage auras were pushed out by 100-meter-tall corpse soul soldiers. There were 12 100-meter-long arrows that were even thicker than arms propped up on the ballistae. These 10 arrows were blood-red and had countless lines and runes engraved on them, as well as 10 different disaster pearls. Boom! 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 The corpse soul soldiers pulled open the ballistae and shot out the 12 ballistae bolts. As the 12 ballistae bolts shot out, they gave off terrifying power and seemed to be able to pierce through space, causing massive sounds to ring out. The 10 disaster pearls on the ballistae were also activated and gave off different kinds of lights, causing the ballistae to become rainbow-colored. They were incredibly fast and gave off immense power as they shot towards the 12 fire-colored magic formations. The fire mages controlled their flaming birds to rush towards the ballistae, wanting to block them. Bang! 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 The countless flaming birds were pierced through by the ballistae bolts' terrifying power and turned into countless sparks. The 12 ballistae bolts were incredibly powerful as they smashed into the 12 magic formations. The 12 massive fire-colored magic formations were shattered into countless pieces and were sent flying. The fire mages felt a powerful wave of disaster power devour their bodies, and they coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Some fell to the ground with heavy injuries, while others directly died. This attack caused countless fire mages to lose the ability to fight. General Yan's expression became serious, and he withdrew all of his condescension. Only now did he truly understand how powerful Qin was, and this mission would not be easy at all. In actuality, when the Flame King had asked him to lead troops to attack a new faction from the outer domains, he had felt quite disdainful and felt that he could easily destroy it. After all, an army of 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers was too much, and at most, he would be able to destroy Qin with 5 billion. However, after seeing Qin's true strength, he understood just how terrifying Qin's faction was. Roar! 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 The insect den wyverns once again gave deafening roars and opened their mouths, shooting out terrifying beams of light that gave off shocking auras towards the Flame King's army. The Flame King's army once again gave off a fiery mist that gathered above their heads, forming a mist shield that gave off a massive aura. Bang! 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 However, the terrifying beams of light still pierced through the mist shield, resulting in massive explosions. The Flame King's soldiers' bodies were blasted apart, causing blood and flesh to fly everywhere as pained cries sounded out. At that moment, Li Baiqing's expression was cold as he gave out an order. Within the Flame King's army, muscular young men roared and rushed out, giving off powerful auras. Countless traces of flames rose up from their bodies and soon, they turned into 100-meter-tall flame giant. These flame giants quickly rushed to the defensive walls, and some vigorously waved their hands, sending many of Qin's soldiers flying. Some flame giants opened their mouths and breathed out large amounts of flames, burning countless soldiers on the defensive walls to death. On Qin's side, 100-meter-tall people wearing heavy weapons and heavy armor quickly appeared. These were the corpse soul soldiers. The 100-meter-tall corpse soul soldiers and the 100-meter-tall flame giants started to ferociously fight. The flame giant raised its fist and gave off a massive wave of power as it punched towards the corpse soul guard. The corpse soul guard unleashed its large shield to block and then swung its large sword, sending the flame giant flying. Chapter 1804. By relying on their high-grade heavy armor and weapons, the corpse soul soldiers had an advantage against the flame giants, and they were able to successfully defend against this wave of flame giants. The battle between the two sides was incredibly intense, and massive explosions sounded out as gales blew and sand and rocks flew everywhere. Roar, roar, roar. Massive roars sounded out as 1,000-meter-long lizard-like flame beasts covered in flames appeared behind the flame army, giving off powerful auras. Bang, 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 the flame beasts opened their mouths and countless traces of fire elemental essence gathered, forming massive fireballs. They then spat out the fireballs, which contained terrifying heat as they shot towards the Qin city walls. The massive fireballs exploded, and some hit the city walls, causing them to crack. Some landed on the city walls, killing countless Qin soldiers and causing blood and flesh to fly everywhere. The insect den WRM furiously roared and flapped its wings, giving off a massive aura as it attacked the flame beasts. The two sides started to fight intensely, continuously shooting out fireballs and beams of light. By now, the flame army had reached the bottom of the city walls and started to attack. They took out all sorts of ladders and flying locks and climbed up the city walls. Qin's side continuously used arrows and heavy objects to attack, while the flame army continuously fired arrows. Blood flew everywhere as pained cries continuously sounded out. The soldiers on both sides desperately fought, and the sounds of battle were like thunder. The sounds of battle shook the surroundings. In the end, the flame army was able to reach the top of the city walls. As Stage 2 soldiers, they were quite powerful. The two sides started to fight head-on. A flame army soldier held a saber and vigorously slashed out, splitting apart a Qin soldier's body. A flame army soldier held a spear and pierced through a Qin soldier's body. A flame army soldier held a spear and pierced through a Qin soldier's throat. Qin had already gathered the remaining Stage 2 soldiers at the front. A Qin ghost soldier vigorously swung his axe with terrifying power, splitting apart a flame army soldier's body. A Qin soldier held a saber and chopped off a flame army soldier's head. A Qin soldier pierced through a flame army soldier's chest with his sword. Zhao Fu looked over at another battlefield, which was the northern side. The Devil Horn Empire in the north was attacking Qin. As mentioned before, Yao Ming hated Qin to death. The moment Hou Yan's army attacked, Yao Ming wanted to take the opportunity to kill Qin. He didn't care about anything else, and he didn't care if killing Qin was beneficial to him. When he learned that Qin and the Fire Kingdom had officially declared war, he did not hesitate to attack Qin. This time, he gathered 30 billion soldiers and a large number of demon beasts to launch a ferocious attack. Qin's side had long since expected Yao Ming to attack, so they had gathered countless Qin's beasts. However, they only had 10 billion soldiers, which was less than the Devil Horn Empire, and they did not have any Stage 2 soldiers. Roar! The Devil Horn Empire's devil beasts gave off powerful auras, and their blood-red eyes gave off cruel gazes as they looked at Qin's beasts and gave off provocative roars. Roar! The ferocious beasts on Great Qin's side gave off terrifying auras as they ferociously looked at the devil beasts on the other side and roared, unwilling to be outdone. Bang! Bang! Soon, the battle beasts from both sides gave off massive auras as they charged at each other and started to ferociously kill each other. A 100-meter-long black snake shot out like a bolt of lightning and bit down on a massive wolf's leg. The massive wolf roared in pain and opened its mouth, wanting to bite down on the black snake's body. A massive spider vigorously leapt towards a massive bull devil. Its blade-like leg stabbed into the bull devil's body, causing a large amount of blood to spurt out. The bull devil furiously rammed into the side, wanting to use this method to kill the spider. In the sky, a massive devil chicken used its claws to swipe at a wild goose, opening up a few wounds on the wild goose. Blood continuously flowed out, and the wild goose furiously rammed into the devil chicken, sending the devil chicken flying. A cosmos beast suddenly appeared behind a devil lion and bit down on the lion's body. The lion roared in pain and threw the cosmos beast off its body before opening its massive mouth and biting towards the cosmos beast. However, the cosmos beast directly hid within the nothingness. The battle between the beasts and devil beasts was incredibly intense and ferocious, and the scene was quite shocking. In this aspect, the Qin's beasts were not weaker than the Devil Horn empires and even had a slight advantage. However, on the other hand, the Qin's side was at a complete disadvantage. The Devil Horn army directly attacked the Qin's city walls, flooding towards the Qin's city walls. They were incredibly ferocious and seemed unstoppable. Swish, swish, swish. Arrows containing immense force shot towards the Devil Horn army, drawing out arcs of light as they landed within the Devil Horn army. Some Devil Horn soldiers were hit by the arrows, while others raised their weapons to block. The Devil Horn army also shot arrows towards the Qin's city walls with great power. The Qin's city walls restrictions were activated, and an aura spread out as a massive defensive barrier appeared, blocking the countless arrows. Some of the arrows were broken and fell to the ground, while others were sent flying. The Devil Horn army exploded out with terrifying power as waves of violet aura flowed out, forming massive devil beasts. These demonic beasts were all condensed from a purple aura, and their bodies emitted a purple aura. They had a pair of blood-red eyes, and their shapes were all different. Some looked like dragons, some looked like tigers, some looked like dogs, and some looked like snakes. All of the devil beasts gave off terrifying auras, and they gave off corporeal might, causing countless people to feel despair. Roar, roar, roar. The countless devil beasts gave off massive roars that shook the surroundings. They gave off terrifying power and ferocious auras as they rushed towards the Qin's defensive barrier. Bang, bang, bang. The massive devil beasts smashed against the barrier with terrifying power, and cracks started to appear on the barrier. The countless devil beasts once again smashed against the barrier, but unlike last time, they directly exploded, and a massive destructive power spread out, shattering the barrier. Kill! The Devil Horn army gave off a terrifying aura as they rushed to the bottom of the city walls and started to attack the Qin's city walls. The Qin's side continuously attacked, continuously smashing down Devil Horn soldiers with heavy objects and continuously shooting arrows, killing Devil Horn soldiers. The Devil Horn soldiers also ferociously attacked, shooting arrows and killing Qin's soldiers. Chapter 1805. Barrels of kerosene were poured down, and the Devil Horn army used a type of ice crystal to freeze the kerosene, making it impossible to ignite, and the Devil Horn army continued to attack. At that moment, half-human, half-bird creatures flew over from the sky. These creatures had bird-like wings but humanoid heads, and their bodies were humanoid. They also had hands, but their lower bodies were bird-like. As they flew in the sky, they ferociously attacked Qin. Arrows shot towards Qin, and spears shot out with terrifying power, piercing through some of Qin's soldiers' bodies. Qin also shot out arrows and massive crossbow bolts, shooting down these bird-like creatures from the sky. The battle was incredibly intense, and blood continuously flew everywhere as cries continuously sounded out. More and more people died, and corpses covered the ground. The Devil Horn army used the soldiers in the sky to suppress Qin to rush up the defensive walls. They were Stage 2 Devil Horn soldiers, and in order to successfully take down Qin, Yao Ming had specially used powerful soldiers to attack. Qin's side did not have enough people to begin with, and now, not only were they being attacked by the Devil Horn soldiers in the sky, but they also had to face the army from below. Adding on the difference in cultivation, Qin's side was at a disadvantage. A devil-horn soldier slashed a Qin soldier in half with a saber, causing blood to fly everywhere. A devil-horn soldier vigorously slashed out with a claw, sending a Qin soldier flying, while a devil-horn soldier stabbed a Qin soldier's chest with a spear. A Qin soldier sent a devil-horn soldier flying with an axe, and a Qin soldier chopped off a devil-horn soldier's head with a saber, causing blood to spurt out. A Qin soldier stabbed a devil-horn soldier's throat with a sword. Both sides fought on the defensive walls, and blood dyed the defensive walls red. Seeing that Qin was at a disadvantage, Qin's side immediately gave the order to retreat. After receiving the order, Qin's soldiers and beasts quickly retreated. Yao Ming stood in the sky and looked at Qin's army running away. He couldn't help but loudly laugh. This was the first time he had defeated Qin, and the first time he had seen Qin run away instead of him. He had finally vented his anger and was in a good mood. Now that they had broken through Qin's defense, the next step was to rush into Qin's interior, break into Qin's imperial palace, and kill Qin. Thinking about that, Yao Ming could not help but feel excited and called out, "Everyone, attack! Break into Qin and everyone will be rewarded handsomely. All the goods and women in the city will belong to you." The Devil Horn army was currently breaking through their old enemy, Qin City's defenses, and everyone looked incredibly excited. Hearing Yao Ming's words, their auras greatly increased, and they gave off ferocious auras as they rushed towards Qin City. However, he had never expected Qin to construct a second defensive wall. Yao Ming did not hesitate. Since he could break through the first defensive wall, he could also break through the second one. Kill! The Devil Horn army on the ground gave off a terrifying aura as they loudly roared and flooded towards Great Qin's defensive walls. The countless flying soldiers in the sky also excitedly flew towards Qin City. They had long since heard that Qin was incredibly wealthy and had many beauties. The countless devil beasts also gave off excited and joyful roars as they gave off powerful auras as they rushed towards Qin City. They wanted to devour Qin's residents and kill all of Qin's beasts, as they liked to eat their meat. Arg! Pained cries sounded out as the devil horn soldiers on the ground felt a gray aura flow out of the ground and into their bodies. It was as if countless insects were tearing at their bodies, and they soon died. It was not just them. The flying soldiers and devil beasts in the sky felt countless insects tearing at their bodies. They exploded out with power, wanting to stop the insects, but it was useless. Flying troops and demonic beasts fell from the sky one after another. Their faces were filled with pain, and there were many insect bite marks on their bodies. Seeing this, Yao Ming knew what method Qin had used, which was to turn the ground into a cursed land. He immediately ordered the army to stop, and Yao Ming called people to get rid of this cursed land. Because Qin had used this on him before, Yao Ming was prepared and prepared some people to get rid of this curse. However, Yao Ming was quickly disappointed, and that person's expression was quite unsightly as he said, "Your Majesty, this cursed land's curse power is too powerful. The power of the curse in this cursed land is too strong, and it's very strange. With our strength, there's no way we can remove it." Hearing this, Yao Ming furiously waved his hand and killed that person. Seeing that they were about to destroy Qin, how could he give up? He shouted, "I don't care what you do, get rid of this cursed land for me." However, not a single person did so, as all of the insect eggs that Qin had collected had been used here, and it was impossible to count how many there were. Back at the western side of the battlefield, the desolate god had led the 12 god emissaries to appear in the sky. The 12 god emissaries exploded out with powerful power, and blood-red orbs appeared behind them, which were controlled by the god emissaries to descend. The 12 blood-red orbs lined up and exploded out with an incredibly powerful suction force, and countless amounts of blood flooded into the blood-red orbs. After absorbing the blood of countless Stage 2 soldiers, the blood-red orbs became incredibly large. Swish, 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 the 12 massive blood-red orbs shot out massive blood-red tentacles that pierced through the soldiers' bodies. The Stage 2 soldiers were unable to resist at all, as the blood god demons were now made up of Stage 2 soldiers. Bang! 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 The corpse soul soldiers ferociously attacked, slashing the flame giants in half with their swords. Some sent the flame giants flying with their hammers, while others smashed the flame giants with their shields, shattering them. Roar! Roar! The insect den wyverns had quite an advantageous battle. They relied on the fact that they could fly in the sky to shoot out terrifying beams of light that pierced through the flame beasts' bodies. Some swooped down and heavily struck out with their claws, leaving behind massive wounds. On the other hand, the battle on the defensive walls was in a stalemate. The Flame Army continuously killed Qin's soldiers, while Qin's soldiers quickly killed the Flame Army. Both sides suffered great losses. Seeing this scene, General Yan said, "Li Baiqing, I think we should retreat for now. If this goes on, our losses will be too great, and it's possible that we'll lose." Li Baiqing's expression was cold as he looked at Zhao Fu, feeling quite unwilling to retreat like this. Su Yan said, "Baiqing, calm down. The situation is quite disadvantageous to us, and if this goes on, we'll lose. It's best to retreat for now and ally with the nearby factions." Chapter 1806. Looking at the retreating army, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. It had not been easy to win this battle. However, Zhao Fu was not happy because Qin's situation was still quite difficult. Now that the matters on this side had been dealt with, there were still other things that had not been dealt with. As such, Zhao Fu immediately headed to those regions. Following this, Zhao Fu heard about the situation in other regions. It was just that the Devil Horn Empire had attacked and the Alliance and Second Wind God Empire had not participated. If both of them had participated, Qin would not have been able to defend. After calculating the death toll, Qin had lost 1.5 billion soldiers this time. Zhao Fu had a heavy heart and ordered people to strengthen the defenses. He returned to Qin and immediately gathered his subordinates to discuss the current situation. However, facing the current situation, the subordinates did not have any good ideas. After all, Qin had used all of his trump cards, and the other side had been on guard. Otherwise, they would have been able to heavily injure the other side. Some of the subordinates suggested allying with the Alliance and Second Wind God Empire to defend against the Fire Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire. This was quite difficult. It was already quite good that they had not participated in attacking Qin, and it would be impossible for them to help Qin. Zhao Fu knew that the two factions had gathered their forces and could attack at any moment. However, Zhao Fu still sent people to try. Even if he could not ally with them, he hoped that they would not participate. The two factions were quite surprised when they saw the various treasures and resources that Qin's emissary had brought. They could understand why. Qin's situation was incredibly dangerous, and if they both participated, Qin would definitely die. Now that Great Qin was expressing goodwill towards them, it wanted them not to get involved. The two factions had originally wanted to act against Qin, but they had wanted to wait for the Devil Horn Empire and Fire Kingdom to take Qin and obtain great benefits without losing too much of their forces. However, things once again exceeded their expectations. The Qin Empire was incredibly powerful. Not only had it stopped 8 billion Stage 2 soldiers, but it had also stopped the Devil Horn Empire's army of 30 billion soldiers. This caused the two factions to give up on their original plans. Facing Qin's emissary, the two factions hesitated. Alliance forces. I think we should join the Huoyen army and destroy the Qin Empire together. Everyone has seen how strong the Qin Empire is. It will definitely be a great disaster. I agree. Qin is too big of a threat. Let's kill him first. This is a great opportunity. If we lose it, it will be hard to get it again. So, don't accept Qin's kindness. Think about it. If Qin City is destroyed, What will happen to the fiery nation? Will they just go back? That Qin Empire has 9 worlds with countless resources, wealth, and people. How could they give up such a big piece of fat meat? You're right. You're oversimplifying things. The fiery kingdom definitely won't give up on such a big piece of meat. When the time comes, they'll stay and become the second fiery kingdom. At that time, they'll have the support of an inner region kingdom. Who do you think is the bigger threat? What you've said makes sense. We should still discuss it carefully. Don't make a decision too early, lest we cause irreversible consequences. The Second Aeolian Empire. Your Majesty, I think we can join in the attack on Qin City. Not only will we take revenge for the First Aeolian Empire, but we'll also be able to split up the fat meat that is the Qin Empire. In the future, there won't be any threat from Qin City. I don't think so. Right now, Qin City is a powerful helper against the Alliance. If he's destroyed, what will we do when the Alliance attacks us? Think about the situation of the First Aeolian Empire. It won't be able to help us much. That's right. I feel that it's best for us to keep a low profile. Right now, the Second Aeolian Empire is under immense pressure in the alchemy world, so having a stable side in the Heaven Awaken world is beneficial to us. But are we going to miss the opportunity to destroy Qin City just like that? Qin City is in great danger, and this is our best opportunity. If we join in the attack on Qin City will definitely be destroyed. There's no need to be so certain. Ever since the Qin Empire rose up, it has been abnormally fast and is not simple at all. It is also quite mysterious, and perhaps they have some backup plans. If we join in, we might not be able to destroy Qin City and suffer great losses. Feng Xinsha sat on her throne and did not say anything as she thought about the words of the various ministers. Within the Qin Imperial Palace, Zhao Fu had not received any news from the 2 factions, and he let out a sigh of relief. This meant that they were hesitating. If they directly refused, it would be dangerous. Right now, the main thing was how to defend against the attacks of the Fire Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire. In actuality, if it was just the Fire Kingdom, Qin City would be able to defend against it. However, with the Devil Horn Empire joining in, Qin City would not be able to defend. Even though there was an extremely powerful cursed land blocking them, it would be destroyed by the Devil Horn Empire sooner or later. When that time came, the Devil Horn Empire would once again launch a berserk attack. When that time came, Qin City would not have any good methods to stop them. Even if they could defend against the Fire Kingdom, they would still be attacked by the Devil Horn Empire, and they would still perish. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu felt a headache. There were simply too many things to worry about. He had thought that the other battlefields would be more peaceful so that he could focus on dealing with the alchemy world. However, something like this had happened in the Heaven Awaken world. If the alchemy world attacked again, Qin City would not be able to defend and would be forced to leave the alchemy world. However, facing the attacks of the Fire Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire, as well as the Alliance and Second Wind God joining in, it was not as if Qin City had no way to deal with them. However, the price of this method was too great. This method was the crack to the outer world. If the 4 factions really dared to join forces and attack, Zhao Fu would completely open up the crack. When that time came, an ocean of insects would flood into the Heaven Awaken world, destroying everything. After all, Great Qin could not control these insects, and they would go berserk and slaughter all Heaven Awaken world creatures, not letting a single one of them off. If they were allowed in, it would be a catastrophe, and corpses would form mountains and rivers of blood. It was possible that Qin City would not be able to escape and would be killed by the countless insects. As such, this method was simply too dangerous, and unless it was absolutely necessary, it was best not to use it. Chapter 1807. Zhao Fu and his people started to make preparations. Now that Qin had the Gate of War, He could go to the chaos battlefield through the gate of war and did not need to rely on that crack. As such, that crack had been sealed by Qin, and it was within Qin's territory. If a large number of insects came, the Qin territory would not be able to protect itself, and he would be the first to be destroyed. As such, Zhao Fu immediately came to the Chaos World. Ericina felt quite surprised. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would bring so many people to the Chaos World. It seemed that nothing had happened in the Chaos World. Zhao Fu gave her a simple explanation of Qin's situation. Ericina's expression was quite serious as she asked, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's too dangerous and can easily go out of control. If that happens, Qin might really be destroyed." Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded seriously and said, "I've already made my decision, and I'm just making preparations. If it really comes to that, Qin will have no choice but to use this method." Seeing that Zhao Fu had made his decision, Ericina did not continue and asked, "What are you going to do with so many people?" Zhao Fu explained, "Right now, I plan to build a V-shaped passageway that will draw in the insects from the outside. This will prevent the Great Qin territory from being destroyed. Without this passageway, the insects will rush in and scatter, causing great losses to the Qin territory. Moreover, they might not necessarily enter the crack, and the passageway will be able to guide them. Moreover, we can also set up a door outside. If we don't want the insects to come in, we can close the door and try to keep the insects within a controllable range. If they really go out of control, Great Qin will be the first to suffer a calamity." After hearing Zhao Fu's words, Ericina gave a trace of a smile as she said, "Speaking of a door, I have an idea. I have an idea. Do you want to know?" Zhao Fu was pleasantly surprised and felt that Ericina had a good solution. He smiled and pulled her into his embrace as he asked, "What is it?" Ericina put her arms around Zhao Fu and said with a smile, "I have a method to create a fallen angel gate. This gate is very powerful and should be of great help to you." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he said, "Then tell me about that method." Then, Zhao Fu learned about the manufacturing method of the fallen angel gate. The power and effect of the fallen angel gate were indeed very strong. First, not only was it made of tough material, it also had the ability to protect itself. When it encountered great danger, it would automatically release a defensive barrier. Second, it also had attack abilities. It could summon countless fallen angels to attack enemies, and they had great power and numbers. Thirdly, it had the power of deterrence, causing some weaker creatures to feel afraid and not dare to approach. Fourthly, it could create a massive repulsive force that could send countless enemies flying away, and it could be used in times of crisis. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with the fallen angel gate. With such a gate, his control over the insect and beast tides would be strengthened, and it would be less dangerous. However, the fallen angel gate was quite troublesome to create. It required a massive number of fallen angel corpses, a large amount of fallen angel blood, and metals containing powerful darkness energy to create the fallen angel gate. Qin had a large number of fallen angels, and he now had roughly 10 million fallen angels. They were formed from the spirit light people who had fallen and had stage 3 strength. However, there were not many of them. Great Qin also had darkness god metal, which was darkness god iron. Great Qin controlled a space filled with darkness god iron ores, and it was the main material for creating Great Qin's equipment. Normally, darkness god metal was silver grade, but some rare darkness god metal could reach gold grade or even legendary grade. Some ore cores were even epic grade, but they were quite rare. To create a fallen angel gate, it had to be at least epic grade. This was because in order to defend against billions or even tens of billions of insects, it had to be sturdy. Qin had both types, but it did not have a large number of fallen angel corpses. However, Zhao Fu was not disappointed for too long. Ericina said that she had a large number of fallen angel corpses in her darkness god palace. Zhao Fu first ordered people to build a V-shaped passageway, which required the sturdiest materials that could suppress insects. This was because this passageway had to defend against countless insects, so it had to be sturdy. There was no need for Zhao Fu to manage this, so Zhao Fu brought Ericina to create a fallen angel gate. The first step was to use the epic-grade darkness god metal to create a gate that was thousands of meters tall and 10,000 meters wide. Creating such a large gate was quite difficult, and it could not be directly created. As such, it had to be pieced together. Zhao Fu called over countless blacksmiths, and it was quite easy to create this gate. It was black and gave off a powerful aura of suppression. There was nothing on it and it looked quite crude. It could only be counted as an iron embryo. After creating this gate, Zhao Fu carved out a massive magic formation on the ground. The iron gate was placed at the center, and there were hundreds of millions of fallen angel corpses around it. There were men and women, old and young, and they all had a pair of black wings and gave off a darkness aura. The 10 million fallen angels surrounded the magic formation, forming a circle. Adding on the magic formation, iron gate, and corpses, this scene was quite shocking. Ericina brought 24 god emissaries and stood at the center of the magic formation. Ericina exploded out with a powerful power, and her body gave off boundless black god light. The 24 god emissaries surrounded Ericina, half squatted on the ground, and pressed a hand against the ground, activating the massive magic formation on the ground. A massive aura spread out as the magic formation gave off black light. The fallen angels around it cut their hands, causing blood to flow out, and pressed their hands against the magic formation. The black magic formation absorbed the blood, and its color became black and blood red, and it gave off a terrifying aura. Ericina raised a hand, and countless traces of darkness god power gathered in the sky. A terrifying black ray of light containing terrifying power descended from the sky and landed on the gate. The gate immediately gave off a black light, and a terrifying power spread out. It fused with the magic formation on the ground and became one. The magic formation gave off a powerful energy, and the countless fallen angel corpses started to melt and flowed into the gate like water. A terrifying ripple spread out from the gate. Chapter 1809. They were Li Baiqing's grandmother, mother, and lover, Yang Yuyan. Now that Li Baiqing had led the flame army to attack Qin, such a big thing had already spread in Qin. When the three women heard the news, they were overjoyed because their grandson, son, and husband had come to save them. Their men in prison might be saved this time. They didn't know how much they had suffered in prison, but now they could finally come out. However, they were still clear about the situation. They were still in Qin's hands, and Zhao Fu could kill them if he wanted to. This was especially so now that Li Baiqing had caused great losses to Great Qin. It was possible that Zhao Fu would take out his anger on them and use them to threaten Li Baiqing, making it difficult for Li Baiqing to advance or retreat. This was why they had come to see Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu sat on the throne with a cold expression as he looked at the three women in front of him and said, "What's the matter? If there's nothing else, leave as soon as possible." Li Baiqing's grandmother, Lu Yuexian, had taken a medicinal pill to increase her lifespan and keep her young. She looked like she was in her 30s, and she was very beautiful with a mature charm and a faint charm. "Your Majesty, we came here to help you and Baiqing reconcile. After all, you are a family. Look, it has been so long. You have also taught Baiqing's father and grandfather a lesson. Now that they have been suffering in prison, they also know their mistakes." Lu Yuexian said with a smile as she tried to speak in a gentle tone. She was afraid that she would accidentally anger Zhao Fu. Zhang Shuyun also said gently, "Your Majesty, we're a family and it's good to be happy. There's no need to fight and kill like this. If we can solve it peacefully, Qin won't lose anything, which is very good for you. Let it all go, okay? I'll treat you well in the future." I can make up for what you lack. Don't go on like this, okay? Even though Lu Yuan hated Zhao Fu, for the sake of being with Li Baiqing, she still gave a gentle smile and said, "You're right. Your Majesty, I admit that I used to be prejudiced against you. But now it doesn't matter. Everything starts over again and we can live in harmony. Qin can also resolve this crisis. You see what a good thing this is." Zhao Fu sneered. "You want the best? Do you think I will reconcile with you? What's the point of pretending that nothing happened after so many years? Let me tell you, my resentment towards you will not disappear even if I die. Also, do you think you can make up for it? Now that things have come to this, it's all too late. I can also accurately tell you that as long as I live, I will imprison you. If I live for 10 years, I will imprison you for 10 years. If I don't die, I will imprison you, Li Shan and Li Jia forever." Right now, Li Baiqing is giving Great Qin a lot of pressure, but one day, I'll capture him and bring him to meet you all. I'll cripple his cultivation, break his arms, and have him spend the rest of his life in prison. Also, am I being too nice to you three? Now you are all going to be the lowest palace made for me. The three women's faces were a little ugly. They wanted to make up and resolve this grudge, so that they didn't have to hurt each other. Unexpectedly, this was the result. Not only did they not make up, but the three of them also became the lowest palace maid. The three of them were all young ladies in their families, but they had never suffered this kind of hardship. Because of their special identities, they would definitely be shocked and humiliated. Lu Yuxian hurriedly stepped forward and hugged Zhao Fu, saying pitifully, "Your Majesty, please don't do this to us. We are also doing this for you and for Qin's sake. Please understand our intentions. You and Baiqing's reconciliation is the best way to solve the current problem." Zhang Shuyun also stepped forward and hugged Zhao Fu, begging, "Your Majesty, really don't go on like this, okay? Both sides will be hurt, and I can make it up to you. You can do whatever you want to me, as long as you can make up with Baiqing." The two mature women hugged Zhao Fu and lightly smelled Zhao Fu's scent. Their faces became red, and their breathing became rapid. It had been a long time since a man had satisfied them, and after smelling Zhao Fu's 6 desires demonic qi, their reactions were quite great. At that moment, their eyes became watery, and there was a trace of lust on their faces as they rubbed their bodies against Zhao Fu. Zhang Shuyun looked as if she was willing to do anything. Lu Yuxian became even more uncontrollable, and her face became red as she panted, wanting to kiss Zhao Fu. Now that they thought about it, if they had sex with Zhao Fu, the problem would be easily solved. In fact, it might not even be important anymore. Right now, they were hot-headed and just wanted to be satisfied. Zhang Shuyun's face became red, and she said in an alluring voice, "Your Majesty, come and spoil us. Don't worry, no one will know." Lu Yuxian also said emotionally, "Your Majesty, in fact, when I was in your arms for the first time, your breath had already fascinated me. After that, all I thought about was you, and I dreamed of getting your favor." Lu Yuyan's face was a little complicated. Looking at Lu Yuxian and Zhang Shuyun's debauchery, she showed contempt and disgust for their behavior, but they did it for Li Baiqing and also for themselves. Thinking of Li Baiqing, Lu Yuyan thought for a while, went forward and sat directly in Zhao Fu's arms, put his hands around Zhao Fu, and smelled Zhao Fu's scent. He couldn't help but think of Zhao Fu as Li Baiqing, and said emotionally, "Hurry up." Zhao Fu frowned and pushed the three women away. The three women fell to the ground and came back to their senses. Thinking about what had just happened, they blushed. But when they thought about it, they didn't regret anything. Maybe that was the most likely way. Lu Yuxian on the ground, looking at Zhao Fu charmingly, began to take off his clothes. Zhang Shuyun also understood to drag his clothes. Lu Yuyan was a little shy, but also began to take off his clothes. "Your Majesty, are you still not tempted now? The three of us will serve you well. Don't worry. No one else will know about it. Don't worry about anything. All three of us need you. Louis Wuxian stood up with a seductive smile. Zhao Fu walked slowly. Zhao Fu had a headache and said in a cold voice, "Now get out of here. Otherwise, I will kill the three of you now, and Li Shan and Li Jia in prison will also die tragically." Hearing this, the three women were a little afraid. Looking at Zhao Fu's cold appearance, they didn't want to tell a lie. They quickly put on their clothes and left the hall. Chapter 1810. Zhao Fu once again came to the great prison. Zhao Fu had not been here in a long time, and he looked at an old man and a dispirited middle-aged man. Li Baiqing is back. He brought an inner royal kingdom's army and attacked Qin, causing great losses to Qin. Qin is still under pressure from him, Zhao Fu said calmly as he came to the front of the cell. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, the two people in the cell immediately became spirited. The middle-aged man, Li Jia, could not help but laugh as he said to Zhao Fu, "Ha ha ha, my son finally came back to save me. I'm finally going to leave this place. Did you see that, you bastard? My precious son is back." The old man, Li Shan, became spirited again, and he felt quite excited. He had not misjudged his grandson. Sooner or later, he would come back and heavily injure Qin. However, he was quite calm and was not as crazy as Li Jia, and he asked, "Then why did you come here to tell us? Do you want to use us to threaten my grandson, or do you want to vent your anger on us?" By now, Li Jia realized that they had not escaped and were still in Zhao Fu's hands. Zhao Fu could do whatever he wanted to them. Thinking about that, Li Jia said threateningly, "You animal, hurry up and let us out. Otherwise, my son will destroy Qin, and you won't even know how you died." Zhao Fu's expression did not change, and he ignored Li Jia as he said to Li Shan, "I didn't mean that. I just came to tell you the good news. Are you happy now? Li Baiqing, your precious grandson that you've poured everything into, is back." Li Shan let out a sigh of relief. In actuality, he was worried that Zhao Fu would use them to threaten Li Baiqing, which would put Li Baiqing in a difficult position. Li Shan did not want that to happen. He even wanted to die now. He didn't want Li Baiqing to be threatened. As long as Li Baiqing could kill Qin, it would be enough. Li Baiqing would become a better emperor than Zhao Fu in the future. However, now that his body was filled with restrictions, even if he wanted to die, he wouldn't be able to. Hearing Zhao Fu's words, Li Shan felt quite happy, but he did not show it on his face. He put on a cold expression and said, "You're so kind as to tell us that Li Baiqing has returned?" Zhao Fu chuckled. "Indeed, I'm not that kind-hearted. I came here to give you one last glimmer of hope. I want to see what happens when this last glimmer of hope is destroyed. Now that Li Baiqing has returned, I won't let him off no matter what, nor will I let him escape. When that time comes, your family will be reunited. Isn't that great?" Hearing this, Li Shan's heart sank and his expression became cold. He felt quite worried because Qin's rise to power was incredibly terrifying. It was possible that his precious grandson would be defeated by Zhao Fu, and when that time came, there would be no hope at all. Hearing this, Li Jia's expression became quite unsightly and he yelled, "My son won't lose to an animal like you. My son will definitely come back to save us. When that time comes, I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces. That's right. And those women in your harem, I'll enjoy them one by one. After I'm done, I'll send them to the army camp to be prostitutes and have them be taken advantage of by countless people. Ha 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 ha." Zhao Fu smiled as he coldly looked at Li Jia. He thought about it and called over Louis Wuxian and the other two women. At this moment, the three of them had flushed red faces that were glistening with tears. This was because after the three of them left the palace, they couldn't resist their rising desires and resolved themselves once. Seeing that Zhao Fu had called them to the prison, Louis Wuxian felt that his intentions were not simple. Zhang Shuyun felt quite happy because she could see Li Jia again, but she also felt quite guilty because she had let him down. "Don't you think the three of them are doing quite well? Aren't they becoming more and more beautiful?" "The three of them serve me every day," Zhao Fu said as he gave a faint smile. Looking at Zhang Shuyun, Li Jie felt his heart ache as if it was being cut by a knife. Back then, when Zhao Fu had taken the three women away, he had said that he wanted to take care of them. Looking at how red and mature Zhang Shuyun was, it was clear that she had been toyed with by Zhao Fu. "Animal! I'll definitely kill you!" Li Jie roared as he looked at Zhao Fu savagely. Zhang Shuyun also felt a stabbing pain in her heart. Seeing Li Jie like this, she did not dare to do anything, as that would only anger Zhao Fu even more. At the same time, Zhang Shuyun also felt that she had betrayed Li Jie. When she had done that just now, she had been thinking about Zhao Fu. Now that she had come to Zhao Fu's side and smelled his scent, if she had to choose, even if she didn't want to, her body would still choose Zhao Fu. Lu Yuexian understood the reason at a glance, and charmingly stepped forward to hug Zhao Fu. "Your Majesty! Don't worry about them, you have to take good care of us tonight." Seeing that his wife had done such a thing, Li Shan felt a wave of anger in his heart. He could no longer hide it, and his eyes were filled with cold, killing intent as he looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged Lu Yuexian, pulled Lu Yuan and Zhang Shuyun into his arms, and said, "Now that I've brought you the good news, you can take it with you in the cell and meet Li Baiqing." Li Shan clenched his fists tightly and stared at Zhao Fu, while Li Jie angrily cursed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu hugged the three women and walked out of the prison. He felt that he had vented some of his anger, so he let go of the three women. However, the three women's faces were red and they were unwilling to let go. Lu Yuexian seductively said, "Your Majesty, don't deceive them like this. It's better to do that thing. What I said before was true. I'm thinking about you every night, and I'm so envious of your concubines in the palace." Zhang Shuyun also shyly said, I'm the same. Your Majesty, can you please favor us once? I'll treat Li Jie a little better in the future." Lu Yuyan also resisted the shame in her heart. Just now, she couldn't stand the temptation. She thought about doing that with Zhao Fu. Now that feeling came out again, she clearly understood that she was sorry for Li Baiqing. However, she really wanted Zhao Fu right now, so she said, "Please, just do it for us once." Zhao Fu frowned, pushed the three of them away in disgust, and left. Lu Yuexian and the other two women watched Zhao Fu leave with a face of loss and pity. Then, when they returned to the room, the three women were entangled like crazy and shouted Zhao Fu's name. Chapter 1811. At that moment, Li Baiqing sent out various ambassadors to the various factions of the alliance, the Devil Horn Empire, and the Second Aeolian Empire, allying with them to destroy Qin. The one who reacted the most warmly was naturally the Devil Horn Empire. Yao Ming had a big smile on his face and was the first to arrive. Right now, there was nothing more important than destroying Qin. Li Baiqing naturally knew that while they were attacking Qin, the Devil Horn Empire had led its army to madly attack Qin. It was evident that there was great enmity between them and Qin. Moreover, it was not weak at all, and it was the best ally. As soon as Yao Ming and Li Baiqing met, they felt quite close, and after chatting for a while, they quickly became close. This was because they had a common enemy, which was Qin, so it was easy for them to find common ground. The Alliance and Second Wind God did not reject this invitation and sent people to participate. However, they were not core figures of their factions, such as Feng Xunsha, who did not personally come. It seemed that they had not decided whether they would participate in destroying Qin or just watch from the sidelines. Li Baiqing smiled in satisfaction that they had come because it was possible to rope them in, so he started the meeting. During the meeting, Li Baiqing naturally made it sound like the Fire Kingdom was harmless and that they were only here to destroy Qin. After destroying Qin, they would leave and would not take anything with them. Everything in Qin would be split among the three of them. Even though his words sounded quite nice, the Fire Kingdom would not give up everything. The Fire Kingdom's king would not lose a large number of soldiers and resources. He just wanted to take revenge for Li Baiqing. He wanted everything in Qin, or else he would not have sent so many soldiers. For example, in the battle just then, the Fire Kingdom had lost roughly 400 million Stage 2 soldiers. They were soldiers of the Fire Kingdom, and for them to die like that was a big loss. With such a big loss, it was impossible for them to give up everything. Li Baiqing wanted to maintain his image as a future one and act like a good person. He would deal with Qin first. The Alliance and Second Wind God politely replied. Yao Ming could not wait to talk about the Cursed Land, because it was the Cursed Land that was blocking the Devil Horn Empire. If it was not for the Cursed Land, they could directly ally with the Flame Empire's army and attack Qin City without the help of the other two factions. The Alliance and Second Wind God continued to speak politely. They weren't sure if killing Qin or not killing Qin was more beneficial, so they wouldn't help Devil Horn and the others think of a way to attack Qin. In the face of this cursed land, Li Baiqing also showed a difficult expression, because he had seen this cursed land before. It contained a very powerful and strange curse, and he didn't know how Qin could cast it. Ordinary methods of dispelling the curse were useless here. If they could solve the problem here, they could directly attack Qin. Both sides began to discuss. On Zhao Fu's side, he naturally knew about Li Baiqing inviting the various factions, and he was now paying attention to what they would do next. At the same time, because the passageway and spatial crack were still being constructed, because they had gathered many people, they should be able to complete it quite quickly. Zhao Fu was thinking about what other methods Qin had to deal with enemies. Facing enemies from all sides, Qin had already used all the methods he could, and now he didn't seem to have any other methods to deal with enemies. He felt quite powerless and didn't have any new methods to deal with enemies. Qin did have new methods, such as the top-tier Stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragon. With its constitution, it could withstand high-grade insect dens, which were at least level 50 or so insect dens. If it fused with high-grade insect dens, it could be as long as 6,000 to 7,000 meters, and its power would be even more terrifying. It would be no problem for it to fight 10 or so ordinary insect dens. However, there were too few Splendor Knight Silver Dragons, and because they had just obtained the den, they didn't have time to nurture them. There was also the Philosopher's Stone. If Qin had the Philosopher's Stone, ordinary Stage 1 soldiers would have Stage 1 to 4 cultivation, and if they had Stage 1 to 4 cultivation, after obtaining the Philosopher's Stone, they would have Stage 1 to 8 cultivation. Moreover, they would have powerful life force and battle power, and they would be able to fight with Stage 2 soldiers. However, Qin lacked time attribute items, so he couldn't mass-produce the Philosopher's Stone. There was also the Blood Demon Snake Mosquitoes. Each of them had Stage 3 strength and had powerful blood-sucking abilities, but there weren't many of them. Qin had new methods, but he hadn't developed them well enough, so he couldn't use them. Zhao Fu bitterly thought about how he could increase Qin's strength, and his head started to hurt. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin was in such a dire situation, Zhao Fu would have gone out to see if he could gain anything. Suddenly, Zhao Fu thought of something and brought some Philosopher's Stones to the insect den WRM. The Blood Demon Snake Mosquitoes were a fusion of the Heaven Awakened World bloodline and the Chaos World bloodline, and they had the ability to digest Philosopher's Stones. Depending on their cultivation, they could digest Philosopher's Stones of different grades and make their bodies mechanical. Zhao Fu thought about the Insect Den WRM, which was a fusion of the Heaven Awakened World WRM and the Chaos Time Den, and it had attributes from both worlds. He wondered if it could digest the Philosopher's Stone. If it could, it would be able to digest a few, and if it could digest a large number, it would become an undying alchemy giant. The 4,000 insect den WYRM would become incredibly terrifying and would not be able to be killed no matter how one tried to kill it. They would also be able to cause terrifying destruction. Zhao Fu had come here to conduct an experiment. He called over an insect den WRM and took out a philosopher's stone, which he had the insect den WRM devour. Because the insect den WRM's strength far surpassed stage 7, it could devour the philosopher's stone without having to split it up. After eating the philosopher's stone, the 1,000-meter-long insect den wyvern started to look like it was in pain. However, it was not very painful, as the wyvern's body was incredibly powerful. Even if the philosopher's stone was harmful, it could still resist it. However, seeing how pained the insect den WRM looked, Zhao Fu started to worry. He wondered if the insect den WRM could consume the philosopher's stone. After a while, the pained expression on the insect den WRM's face disappeared, and Zhao Fu went up and placed a hand on the insect den WRM's body to sense its power. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the insect den WRM could digest the philosopher's stone and was currently converting it into primal chaos alchemy power. Because the insect den WRM was too powerful, the philosopher's stone's effects were quite weak. Chapter 1813. Zhao Fu thought about it before replying. Everything will go on as planned. Now that Qin is under so much pressure, it's time for him to relax. Hearing this, Li Si nodded and left to pass down the orders. Zhao Fu once again turned his attention to politics, and time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was a few days later. The streets were decorated with lanterns, red paper, and all sorts of auspicious decorations were hung on the street. There were many people, and they flowed through the city like rivers. Everyone looked delighted, and it was a lively and bustling scene. There was a wide stage in front of Qin's palace, and it was filled with food and wine. Not only were there the various ministers, but there were also some people that Zhao Fu was familiar with. For example, the Li family village's village chief, some people from Holy Light City, people from the real world, such as the class president, and a few ordinary friends. They had also been invited to come. "Husband, hurry up! Hurry up! Everyone's waiting for you right now." Nu Lu walked in as she gently urged Zhao Fu. "Emperor Qin, you're becoming more and more arrogant," Wu Qingyang said as she walked in, dressed in a stunning red dress. Zhao Fu helplessly smiled and said, "I've been quite busy recently and haven't had much time. Is everyone here?" Nu Lu went up and said softly, Everyone is here, we just came to hurry you up." After saying this, Nu Lu helped Zhao Fu change into a red dress, and Wu Qingyang also went up and helped Zhao Fu tidy up his clothes. Looking at how considerate and virtuous the two women were, Zhao Fu could not help but smile. In actuality, if these peaceful days could continue and he could take care of politics and have beauties by his side, his days would be quite comfortable. Wu Qingyang rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, "Why are you suddenly smiling at us?" Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and hugged Wu Qingyang as he said, "It's nothing, I'm just a bit happy." Hearing this, Wu Qingyang hugged Zhao Fu and leaned her head against Zhao Fu's chest as she smiled and lightly nodded. Nu Lu lightly laughed and went up to hug Zhao Fu, saying, "Husband, we know that there are a lot of things going on right now and you're under a lot of pressure, but don't overwork yourself." Zhao Fu responded with a smile. "Husband, why aren't you done yet?" Tina Pendragon, who was dressed in a silver-white knight's dress, walked in with Masanori Hana, Asani, and a few other women, and they saw the sweetly hugging each other. Nu Lu was slightly embarrassed, but Wu Qingyang's expression did not change. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before coming out of the palace with the women. The people waiting at the tables outside all respectfully called out, "We greet your majesty." The banquet officially began. In addition to Qin's imperial palace, other villages and towns were also in a festive atmosphere. Red window papers and couplets were pasted everywhere, and red ribbons were hung. People's faces were full of happy smiles. Even though the interior of Qin was incredibly festive, Qin's soldiers guarded the borders to prevent anyone from attacking Qin during this time. In actuality, most races in the heaven-awakened world celebrated the new year. After all, it was the arrival of a new year and the passing of an old one. As such, the factions around Qin, such as the Devil Horn Empire, the Second Wind God Empire, and the allied factions all started to celebrate. This included the Flame Army. Li Baiqing was currently thinking about how to destroy Qin, so he did not have much time to celebrate. However, every soldier wanted to celebrate and he could not stop them. As such, he could only allow the army to celebrate. The various faction celebrations caused the surroundings to become quite lively. Everyone had smiles on their faces, and they did not feel as tense or depressed as before. It was as if they were in a paradise. However, this sort of atmosphere only lasted for a day. After that day, the various factions gave off powerful killing auras and once again faced off, causing the atmosphere to become quite tense and oppressive. However, there had been no battles recently, and Zhao Fu had been dealing with the reports from the various factions. Over the past few days, the V-shaped channel to the outer world had been constructed, and Zhao Fu came to the outer world to take a look. This V-shaped channel had walls that were 150 meters tall and 30 meters thick. They were all made of materials that countered chaos creatures, and there were also restrictions that gave the walls incredibly sturdy defenses. The channel led from the crack to the border of Qin's territory, but it did not lead to the outside, or else the insects would be able to charge in. There were also two walls, mainly to increase control. After all, letting the insects into the heaven-awakened world was an incredibly dangerous thing. The first wall was also for the channel, and it extended to the outside of Qin's territory. Normally, there were many soldiers stationed there, and if the insects were allowed in, they would directly open the first wall's door. After the insects entered the first wall, there would be a large region, and there would be a second door. After the second door was opened, the insects would be able to enter the crack and head to the heaven-awakened world. If something unexpected happened, such as a large number of insects attacking, and the first wall could not be defended, they could retreat to the second wall. They could also simultaneously close the two walls, cutting off the insect army and preventing things from spiraling out of Qin's control. The first wall's door was made of a large number of high-grade materials that countered the outer world's creatures. It was a few thousand meters tall and 10,000 meters wide, and it had already been installed on the first wall. The door was green and had a few domineering dragons carved on it. It looked quite shocking, and it was called the Green Dragon Door. The second wall was the Fallen Angel Door, which was the final line of defense. It was within Qin's territory and was connected to the other walls. As such, they had to have the best defenses, or else the insects would be able to charge into Qin's territory. Now that the channel and door had been set up, the next step was to set up more restrictions and formations to strengthen the defenses and attacks so that Qin could stop and kill large numbers of insects. Zhao Fu looked around and found that there were no problems, so he returned to the heaven-awakened world and went to the crack. There was now a space that was tens of thousands of meters wide, and the crack had become a circular hole that was hundreds of meters wide. It was at the center of the space, and there were magic formations carved out around it. Those magic formations were naturally teleportation formations, and there was a layer of jade to ensure that the magic formations would not be destroyed. Jade was a good material, and if other materials were used, they would affect the teleportation formations. For such a large area to be covered with jade, it looked quite luxurious and exquisite. Chapter 1814. It looked like a black metal cage that covered that space. Each metal pillar was covered with runes and gave off a powerful and firm aura, making it seem as if no beasts could break through it. There was also a firm stone wall outside the cage, which was also covered with restrictions. It gave off a thick and firm aura and had powerful defenses. Now that the passageway and spatial rift had been set up, Zhao Fu wanted to test it out. It looked like there were no problems, but he had not tested it out yet, so he could not be completely sure. This was to prevent any accidents from happening when Qin used it at a critical moment. If something unexpected happened, the consequences would be severe. After ordering people to prepare everything, Zhao Fu started to test it out. A group of 1,000 Qin soldiers came to the outskirts of Qin's territory and found an insect den with 100,000 or so insects. They attacked it, causing countless insects to charge at the soldiers. These soldiers naturally fled immediately, luring the group of insect beasts to the Azure Dragon Gate. At this moment, the Azure Dragon Gate was already open. Sensing the Heaven Awakened World's aura, the insects became incredibly excited and became even more ferocious. They had already fused their instincts into killing Heaven Awakened World's people, and they did not hesitate to rush in. The second fallen angel gate also opened, and the insect beasts rushed in and entered the passageway. At that moment, something happened. The insectoids didn't continue to move forward. Instead, they started to attack the walls on both sides. Some insectoids had already climbed up the walls. Some of the insects climbed up the walls and quickly attacked. The soldiers on the walls immediately acted, shooting out arrows that slashed out with sharp lights and killed the insects. In an empty area in the Heaven Awakened world, Zhao Fu and some soldiers were standing guard here. This was just a test, so they did not teleport to the outside and instead teleported here to see the result. By now, Zhao Fu heard about what had happened in the outer world and felt quite surprised. Why had the insects not taken the passageway and instead attacked the city walls? After coming to the outer world, Zhao Fu personally asked about the situation and found a problem. Why had the insects followed the passageway and not followed the passageway? They had charged into the city walls because there were people on the city walls, and they naturally wanted to kill those people. However, after charging into the city walls, Zhao Fu found that there were two passageways on either side of the city walls. On one side, he could not see anything, and on the other side there were people from the Heaven Awakened world. Without even thinking about it, it was obvious that the insects would not continue to advance and would instead attack the people on the city walls. This was an important problem, and if they could not resolve it, the insects would be useless. If they did not follow the passageway and directly attacked the city walls, what would be the point? Luring the insects in would only harm themselves, and it would be a waste of time and soldiers. Zhao Fu suddenly realized that the reason the insects had come here from the den was because someone had used them as bait. If someone had lured them into the crack, they would have followed them into the crack. However, there was another problem. A small group of people attracting a small group of insects was not a problem, but to attract a large group of insects they would need many people. Facing countless insects, most people would not be able to escape, and they would have to be lured to the crack. There would be no chance of survival, and it would be equivalent to sending countless people to their death. If experts went to lure them, they would not be able to solve this problem. Even an Emperor Heaven Realm expert would only be able to run when facing a large group of insects. What should we do now? Their plan had been quite good, but they had never thought that something like this would happen. Zhao Fu felt a headache coming on. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu personally flew above an insect den and exploded out with a powerful aura. He then attacked the insect den, causing all of the insects to furiously rush at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu flew forwards unhurriedly, luring the insects towards the Great Qin territory, and the insects furiously followed behind Zhao Fu. Soon, the insects were lured to the Azure Dragon Gate, and Zhao Fu stood in the air and started to observe. Sensing the auras of the Heaven Awakened world people, the insects on the ground became even more excited and ferocious. They quickly rushed towards the Azure Dragon Gate, completely ignoring Zhao Fu. It was evident that the heaven-awakened world people in the city were more attractive to them. Zhao Fu was quite concerned about this. Since the heaven-awakened world's aura was so attractive to the insects, it would be better to use the heaven-awakened world's aura to attract the insects. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu casually killed the insects and went near the crack to the outer world. This place led to the heaven-awakened world, and there was already a lot of heaven-awakened world's aura flowing in. However, there were also formations and restrictions here, because once they were all opened, all of the insects in the region would sense it. At that time, there might be hundreds of billions of insect beasts attacking. Who would be able to resist them? Even higher beings would not be able to. Zhao Fu did not want to undo the seals here, and he only wanted to draw a portion of the heaven-awakened world's aura along the passageway. The countless insects would be attracted by the heaven-awakened world's aura and obediently enter the crack. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu immediately called over many formation masters and talisman masters to discuss how to do that. An hour or so later, they came up with a method, which was to set up a magic formation belt on the passageway and use the magic formations to draw out the aura here, forming a river of aura. This way, the countless insects would obediently follow the river of aura and enter the crack. Zhao Fu ordered people to set up magic formations before ordering people to attract another wave of insects. Soon, hundreds of thousands of insects were attracted over, and sensing the heaven-awakened world's aura, they became incredibly excited and savage as they rushed towards the Azure Dragon Gate. At that moment, the magic formations on the ground of the passageway were activated, and a formless aura flowed out from the crack to the Azure Dragon Gate. Sensing the heaven-awakened world's aura and not the heaven-awakened world's aura, the countless insects seemed to go crazy. They exploded out with powerful auras and became incredibly ferocious as they rushed through the passageway. They did not stop at all and did not look like they could stop them at all. This scene was quite frightening because the crazed looks of the insect beasts were quite terrifying. Chapter 1815. Seeing how berserk the insects were, Zhao Fu understood that they were doing something incredibly dangerous. To the ruler of the outer world, destroying the heaven-awakened world was their greatest goal, which was why the insects were so berserk. Countless insects madly rushed through the passageway, and soon they rushed into the crack. After entering the crack, the insects quickly appeared within the heaven-awakened world. After coming out and sensing the heaven-awakened world's aura, the insects became even more berserk and rushed in all directions, wanting to destroy everything. At that moment, the magic formations on the ground were activated. The insects that had charged out of the cracks and those that had not yet charged out were sucked in by a massive formless energy before disappearing and reappearing where Zhao Fu had been waiting. Seeing the insect beasts appear, the soldiers guarding here did not hesitate to raise their arrows and kill the insect beasts. Sensing the heaven-awakened world's aura, the insects madly rushed out and were continuously teleported out. The soldiers who remained there also taught them how to kill the insects. After seeing all of the insects rush into the crack, Zhao Fu returned to the heaven-awakened world and looked at the result. This time, there were no accidents, and the insects were all teleported out. The soldiers who had been stationed there also killed all of the insects and did not cause any harm to Qin. If the Flame World Army and Devil Horn Empire attacked, they would be able to use this to deal with them. Finally, Zhao Fu had a problem. Even though they had succeeded with the passageway, the method of attracting a large number of insects to Great Qin's territory was not very feasible. First, there was the problem of numbers. If a battle broke out, a small number of insects would be useless, and there would be at least 1 billion insects. If they knew that there was a large-scale insect nest, it would not be a big deal. However, if they did not know that there was an insect nest, how would they attract a large number of insects? Zhao Fu and the other formation masters and talisman masters did not have much difficulty researching this. They were researching an aura ball, which was a ball formed from countless traces of Heaven-Awakened World's aura. If this aura ball exploded, a large amount of Heaven-Awakened World's aura would spread out. Sensing this massive Heaven-Awakened World's aura, countless insects would madly gather, and they would be lured into the passageway. This would avoid the problem of not being able to find the insect beasts in the future when the situation was urgent. Now that this matter had been resolved, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. With this method, Zhao Fu felt more confident against the Fire Flame Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire. After that, Zhao Fu came to another place. This place was in the sky, and it was as big as a region. Below it were hard rocks, and above it were countless grass and trees. There were even mountains and rivers. The scenery was quite good. It floated in the sky and gave off an incredibly powerful aura, as well as an oppressive feeling. As it flew through the sky, countless beasts would be frightened and run away. Zhao Fu had arrived at the War God's path. Ever since he had obtained all of the materials, the War God's fury had been under construction. Because the region was so big, construction was quite complicated and difficult. Every part of the War God's fury had to be inscribed with magic formations and runes, which were connected to the core of the War God's fury. There were also all sorts of defensive structures and offensive abilities that needed to be constructed. However, if Zhao Fu wanted to use it, he could use it, but it would not be very effective. The combined power of 500 million soldiers would be able to stop it. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up as he looked at Zhao Fu's face. A group of World Realm experts would be able to cause a lot of damage, so Zhao Fu did not use it. He wanted to completely refine it and use it. The reason he had come here was because Zhao Fu had suddenly thought about whether he could make the War God's fury into something like a War God beast. Regardless of whether it was the ground, the rocks below, or the walls, they were all mechanized. Then, cannons were mounted on them. 1,000-meter-long Saint War Beast could mount hundreds of cannons, and a single region could have at least several million cannons, or even more. A single War God's fury was comparable to the power of 10,000 War Sacred Beasts. Thinking back to the terrifying effect created by 5,000 War Sacred Beasts and the effect created by 10,000 War Sacred Beasts, it was definitely beyond imagination. Moreover, with millions of cannons, they could not only attack one place but also attack from all directions. Of course, Zhao Fu had not come alone. He had brought some formation masters and talisman masters, as well as Mu Minxian. Zhao Fu brought her to the core region, which was under a 100-meter-tall peach tree. This peach tree's canopy was like an umbrella, and its leaves were jade green like jade. The branches gave off a trace of spirit chi, and the entire peach tree gave off a faint celestial light and a refreshing fragrance. This peach tree was not simple at all. It was a 9,000-year celestial peach tree, the one that Zhao Fu had planted back then. As the core of the War God's fury, it provided the War God's fury with powerful life force. Because the War God's fury was continuously being built and strengthened, the celestial peach tree was also quickly growing. However, it would take a long time to grow celestial peaches. Take a look at the core of the War God's fury and understand its structure. See if you can use alchemy to forge it into a War God's fury, Zhao Fu said to Mu Minxian. Mu Minxian nodded and looked at the core of the War God's fury, which was under the peach tree. There were countless magic formations and talismans there, and there were 10,000 gravity origin stones, God race stones, and earth souls. After a while, Mu Minxian returned to Zhao Fu's side and said seriously, "Your Majesty, this War God's fury is quite special and complicated. This War God's fury is quite special and complicated. It's possible to create something similar to a War God beast, but it'll be quite difficult because it's too big. If it's made into a War God beast, it'll be even more terrifying than 10,000 War God beasts." Zhao Fu smiled, feeling quite delighted. As long as it could be forged, it would be fine. If it was a bit difficult, it would be acceptable, and if it succeeded, its power would be even greater. You can start researching it then. Zhao Fu smiled as he said to the Formation Master and Talisman Master beside him. The Formation Master and Talisman Master obeyed. Zhao Fu planned to leave Mu Minxian here because things would be easier with the goldsmith race's people here. After all, they understood alchemy. However, he felt that the goldsmith race did not have enough people and many places needed them, so Zhao Fu could not help but ask Mu Minxian to bring a few people back. Chapter 1816. Zhao Fu thought about it and agreed. Hearing this, Mu Minxian felt slightly relieved. Those people had been used as experimental materials, but they had captured many alchemist soldiers. Mu Minxian had used her power to temporarily protect them, allowing them to live. Now, she took this opportunity to ask Zhao Fu to use them. She naturally had her own plans. Facing the massive Qin Empire, she felt that she was too weak by herself and would not be able to gain a foothold in the Qin Empire. She desperately needed help, and she knew the people in the Great Prison, so she trusted them. Zhao Fu did not bother with the matters here and went to the Sea of Flowers. He wanted to ask the teachers' wives how much their cultivations had recovered. They were people who could rival higher beings, and if they recovered their cultivations, the 12 higher beings would be able to help Qin Empire sweep through everything. Who in the outer regions could stop the 12 higher beings? After coming to the Sea of Flowers, Zhao Fu saw a 3-meter-long, milky white skin and a pair of large, watery eyes. After coming to the Sea of Flowers, he saw a 3-meter-long, milky white insect with large, watery eyes. It was quite chubby, and it jumped about within the Sea of Flowers, kicking up many petals as it chased after the 3 flower spirits. The 3 flower spirits happily smiled and gave pleasant laughter as they played with the large insect, and the large insect seemed quite happy. Suddenly, seeing Zhao Fu arrive, the large insect happily leapt high into the air. Before Zhao Fu could react, he was pressed down by the large insect. The cute insect affectionately rubbed its head against Zhao Fu's face, causing Zhao Fu to lightly laugh. This large insect was the world-cleansing butterfly from before, and it was still in its insect form and had not become a butterfly. "Your Majesty, you're here. You've come," the 3 flower spirits smiled as they flew over. Zhao Fu smiled and patted Kai Dai's head. Kai Dai was reluctant to move away from Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu stood up and smiled. The 3 flower spirits happily talked about all sorts of interesting things around Zhao Fu. Even though they were talking about ordinary things, it was still quite interesting. Seeing how carefree and happy they were, Zhao Fu couldn't help but feel a bit envious. There was also the world-cleansing butterfly. It was a world beast of the human world and had immense power. It was born with the world's source energy. In addition to it, the human world's inheritors had once been selected from more than 8 billion people, and 8 people with the function of inheritance had been selected. The 8 of them were the legatees of the human world and stood at the peak of the world. They controlled the future of the human world, and they should have been remembered by all of humanity. However, because of Zhao Fu's appearance, these 8 people had either died, fled, or surrendered. Those who surrendered to Qin included Tina Pendragon, the British legatee, Geoffrey, and Masanori Hanno, the devil legatee. They also had terrifying creatures, such as Tina Pendragon's Sky Desolation Azure Dragon, which was a world-protecting holy beast. Zhao Fu had personally seen its terrifying power, and had even tried it before. Geoffrey had obtained one of the 4 holy beasts, the 9 celestial enchanting deer, and Masanori Hanno had obtained a powerful pet that also had terrifying power. It was an existence that came from legends, which was the Yamata no Orochi. These 3 creatures all had immense power, and there was also the world-cleansing butterfly. Zhao Fu could not waste their power. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu patted the world-cleansing butterfly's head and had them continue to play. He would deal with them later. Zhao Fu's flower domain palace was at the center of the flower domain and gathered the most flower energy. This was especially so for the heaven-awakened world's 7 wondrous flowers, the world flower, the evil spirit abyss flower, and the dark night flower. As one of the heaven-awakened world's 7 wondrous flowers, they all had terrifying power. It was just that for some reason they had not bloomed yet. This was especially so for the world flower, which Qin had nurtured the earliest. It had grown bigger and bigger, but it had not bloomed yet. This was the best place for the madams to recover their power, as their core power was the evil spirit abyss flower's power. Zhao Fu went to where the madams were cultivating and saw them sitting on a stage, forming a circle. Their bodies continuously gave off a black aura that gathered at the center, forming a black flower. It was the evil spirit abyss flower. Sensing Zhao Fu's arrival, the madams slowly opened their eyes and gave a trace of a smile. Yi Er, you're here. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before asking, how long will it take for the madams to recover their full power? The Grandmaster's wife smiled as she said, how can it be that fast? It will take at least decades to recover power that rivals higher beings. Yi Er, did something happen to you? Why do you want our power so much? That's right. Yi Er, hurry up and tell us. A few madams came over and hugged Zhao Fu's body as they smiled and asked in concern, giving off a trace of charm. Zhao Fu gave them a simple explanation of what had happened. The madams understood Qin's situation. They normally stayed in the flower domain and did not care about Qin's matters, so they did not know about Qin's situation. Zhao Fu could occasionally accompany them, and they were quite happy. The Grandmaster's wife said seriously, Yi Er, we can't help you right now. We can't help you right now, but as your master's legatee, your master is the first evil spirit abyss flower, and he was the person who caused a catastrophe in the demon domain. You haven't used his power yet. For example, your master has a method to nurture an evil demon army, which will be faster than developing evil flower emissaries. There will also be more of them, which should be useful to you. After hearing this, Zhao Fu's mind went blank because he did not know about the evil demon army at all. Perhaps because he was not the true legatee, the evil spirit abyss flower ancestor wanted to kill him, so he naturally would not tell him about the evil demon army. However, the evil spirit abyss flower ancestor would not tell him, but as his evil flower emissaries, the 12 madams, they most likely knew about the method to nurture an evil demon army, which might be useful to Qin. Now that Qin had a human race army, devil race army, death race army, and the god race fallen light angel army, it would be a good time to nurture a demon race army. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu smiled as he said, however, because we were in a rush, my master did not tell me about it, so I don't have any information about it. Please explain it to me, madam. The 4th madam laughed and took off her clothes, saying, of course, that's no problem. Let's talk about it on the bed. Some of the madams were flirtatious, some were happy, and some were shy. They all took off their clothes, and the usually dignified madam did the same. Chapter 1817. Following this, Zhao Fu found out about the evil demon army. It was developing at a shocking speed and was not weak at all. To the current Qin, it would be of great help. Zhao Fu felt quite regretful that he had not asked earlier, or else the evil demon army would have already developed. This method was actually quite simple. One needed to find a large number of flower seeds and use the evil spirit abyss flower's power to give those seeds the evil spirit abyss flower's power, turning them into half-evil spirit abyss flower seed. Even though these half-evil spirit abyss flower seeds were not as powerful as true evil spirit abyss flower seeds, they had the ability to control people. No matter who or what creature it was, they could all be controlled, and they could be mass-produced. With this method, Qin could turn enemy's soldiers into Qin's soldiers, allowing Qin to have a large army in a short period of time. Moreover, the half-evil spirit abyss flower seeds could absorb life energy from living creatures, allowing them to sprout and form half-evil spirit abyss flower seed. These living creatures also had the ability to spread seeds, and they could directly place the evil spirit abyss flower seeds into other living creatures' bodies to control them. This made it so that Zhao Fu did not even need to directly nurture them. Moreover, this seed could control all cultivators, not just Stage 1 soldiers, Stage 2 soldiers, and Stage 3 soldiers, but even Saint Realm and Emperor Heaven Realm cultivators could be controlled by the seed. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had to cultivate seeds of the same level. In other words, he had to cultivate Stage 1 evil flower seeds, Stage 2 evil flower seeds, and Stage 3 evil flower seed. He would use the evil flower seeds of the same level of people he wanted to control. Zhao Fu heard from Big Mistress that the evil spirit abyss flower ancestor had used a very high-grade evil flower seed to control a higher being. This made Zhao Fu feel quite excited. Higher beings were the most terrifying existences in the world, and yet they could be controlled by evil flower seed. This showed just how powerful the evil flower seeds were. Moreover, Zhao Fu did not have to nurture these evil flower seeds himself. After all, the first batch of evil flower seeds could absorb life energy from living creatures and germinate. During this process, if the life energy absorbed was powerful, it would automatically form higher-grade evil flower seeds, and higher-grade evil flower seeds could be planted in soldiers of the same cultivation, causing higher-grade evil flower seeds to sprout. So on and so forth, the seed would only become more and more advanced. There was no need for Zhao Fu to do anything. However, this was not the end. Evil flower seeds could devour each other and grow, forming higher-grade evil flower seeds that could control higher-grade creatures. From this, it could be seen how great the potential of the evil demon army was. That was why Zhao Fu regretted not asking earlier. If he had asked earlier, Qin would have cultivated the first batch of seeds of the evil flower and would have been more likely to use them on the battlefield. Now that Zhao Fu knew this method, he didn't waste time and quickly set it up. He first needed a place with powerful demonic qi. Zhao Fu chose the Dark Demon world because that was the demon race's world and contained a massive amount of essence. Because it could be mass-produced, Zhao Fu wanted to make as many as possible and set it up on a large scale. The magic formation that gathered massive amounts of demonic qi covered 10% of the continent and gathered an ocean of demonic qi. Now, the demonic qi there was extremely dense, and it had already vaporized and liquefied. Zhao Fu stood at the center of the magic formation. The demonic qi here had already started to crystallize, and the ground was covered with black crystals that contained powerful demonic qi. They covered the plants and the surroundings, giving off a dark sense of beauty. Boom! A powerful wave of demonic qi exploded out of Zhao Fu's body as a black aura flame ignited around him, sending out gales that spread out. Zhao Fu's eyes became pure black, and his pupils became blood-red flowers. His body gave off an evil, devilish, and bewitching aura. Zhao Fu squatted down and gathered the evil spirit abyss flower's power in his hand. He vigorously pressed it against the ground, and a terrifying wave of black light spread out. Boom! 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 Massive pale white roots giving off ferocious auras flowed out from around Zhao Fu and stabbed into the ground, spreading out in all directions. The ground continuously cracked as a terrifying aura spread out, causing the surroundings to become icy cold. Those rhizomes continued to expand. They were so densely packed that it was impossible to count them clearly. They occupied the ground within a radius of 10 miles. A huge pale white branch grew out, and it also continued to rise. Following this, pale white leaves grew out and formed a massive flower bud, which gave off boundless demonic light that covered the surrounding 1,000 kilometers. Massive amounts of demonic qi continuously flowed into the flower bud, and the massive flower bud slowly bloomed. Its petals opened, and the images of countless peerless demon women floated out. In the end, the flower completely bloomed, giving off a black light that seemed to cover the heavens and earth. The beautiful demon beauties flew about in the sky, dancing, laughing, seducing, and speaking. They gave off a bewitching aura that could bewitch all creatures. This evil spirit abyss flower was 10,000 meters tall and its flower was 1,000 meters wide. It gave off a faint black light and gave off a shocking aura. No one could get close to this place because anyone who did would be bewitched and turned into a puppet, unable to break free from the illusion. Summoning such a massive evil spirit abyss flower greatly affected Zhao Fu's source energy. Now, Zhao Fu's body was quite weak, and his face was quite pale. However, it was all worth it. This was because Zhao Fu wanted to nurture 10 billion evil flower seeds, which was a shocking number. If he succeeded, he would be able to control 10 billion people, so any sacrifice would be worth it. Zhao Fu took out these seeds, which were all produced by flowers in the flower domain. They were a bit better than ordinary seeds because they had a trace of the flower domain's power. Not only were their life force stronger, but their flowers were also brighter. After taking out the seeds, Zhao Fu looked at the evil spirit abyss flower with his evil spirit flower eyes. The evil spirit abyss flower gave off a massive attractive force, causing the surrounding demonic chi to flood into it. A powerful aura spread out, and the flower at the top gave off an intense demonic light. Zhao Fu flew into the sky and scattered out the flower seeds. After the flower seeds were scattered, they did not fall to the ground and were instead controlled by the demonic light. They scattered and floated near the evil spirit abyss flower. Chapter 1818. Soon, Zhao Fu scattered out countless flower seed. There were roughly 10 billion seeds, and each of them was as big as a soybean. They did not touch each other and floated near the evil spirit abyss flower, covering the evil spirit abyss flower like a fog and seeming to cover the entire sky. The evil spirit abyss flower continuously absorbed the demonic chi around it and gave off an intense demonic light. The seeds also absorbed the demonic light's power and started to go through changes. A satisfied smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he could only wait. In actuality, if it wasn't for the fact that the evil spirit abyss flower Zhao Fu controlled was too weak and he could only summon a 10,000-meter tall evil spirit abyss flower, Zhao Fu could nurture even more evil flower seed. Back then, the evil spirit abyss flower ancestor had nurtured billions of stage 4 evil flower seeds and implanted them into countless stage 4 soldiers. Adding on the evil flower bewitching world's buffs, the stage 4 soldiers exploded out with unprecedented power, causing a terrifying catastrophe. It was impossible for Zhao Fu to have that kind of power, or else he would have long since unified the surrounding regions and swept through the outer domains and middle domains. Now, Zhao Fu only wanted 10% of his power, which would be enough for him to dominate the outer domains and not fear any royal kingdoms or factions. These were all ordinary flower seeds, and after absorbing the evil spirit abyss flower's power, they would slowly become stage 1 evil flower seeds. If he wanted higher-grade evil flower seeds, he would need to nurture them for a long time. After dealing with this matter, Zhao Fu returned to the flower domain and called Tina Pendragon, Masanori Hanno, and Jeffrey over. "Husband, what is it? Is something the matter?" Tina Pendragon looked at Zhao Fu with a confused expression. Masanori Hanno and Jeffrey were the same. They did not know why Zhao Fu had brought them to the flower domain. At that moment, the world-cleansing butterfly, which was that cute big bug, intimately rubbed against Zhao Fu's side. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I want to see what your legacy beasts look like. Release them for me to see." Hearing this, Tina Pendragon and the others nodded and waved their hands. 3 rays of light flew into the sky and turned into 3 figures. The first figure gave off an intense azure light and gave off a powerful dragon's might. It was a 100-meter-long dragon and was covered with azure jade-like scales. It had a pair of metallic dragon horns and gave off a dignified and noble aura. The second figure was a deer that was 100 meters long. Its fur was 9 different colors and its antlers were like crystals. It gave off a celestial spiritual aura and a might that made people feel respect and fear. The third figure was a large snake with 8 heads and was 100 meters long. It was covered with white scales and had a pair of black snake eyes that gave off an evil and cruel look as well as a ferocious aura. The first was the desolate azure dragon, the second was the 9 celestial deer, and the third was the 9 serpent. Looking at the 3 massive figures in the sky, the large insect did not seem to be afraid and looked at the 3 massive beasts with curiosity. Looking at the 3 massive figures in the sky, the large insect did not seem afraid and looked at the 3 massive beasts with curiosity. Zhao Fu smiled as he patted its head, saying, "Why aren't you as strong as them? You only know how to eat all day. Look at how fat you've become." The big insect happily rubbed its head against Zhao Fu's head, seeming quite carefree and silly. Zhao Fu knew that the world-purifying butterfly was not as simple as it seemed. It was a world beast that was more powerful than legacy beasts, and it ate large amounts of spirit medicines every day. The flower fairy had said that she had sent some of her flower fairy's power into the world-purifying butterfly. This meant that the large insect was quite powerful, but it did not seem to be dangerous at all and liked to act cute. At the same time, Zhao Fu did not know what the large insect's path of evolution would be like. Zhao Fu looked at Tina Pendragon and the others and said, "I want to gather all of Qin's power to nurture these war beasts and have them become Qin's kingdom beasts." Tina Pendragon lightly laughed. "That's no problem. This will be of great help to Little Green, and it will be quite happy." Masanori Hanno smiled and nodded, saying, "Husband, I have no objections. I have no objections." Geoffrey gave a trace of a smile. If his legacy beasts became Qin's kingdom beasts, they would be able to help even more people and protect the Qin Empire. It would be better for the legacy beasts to be used to their fullest potential than in his hands. This suited his personality and the church's teachings, so he did not have any objections. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "These legacy beasts will still stay by your side and fight with you. I won't be taking them away. I just wanted to let you know." Tina Pendragon and the others understood and smiled as they nodded. Following this, the 3 of them left, and Zhao Fu gave the order to give all of the items needed to nurture the legacy beasts to the 3 of them. Apart from these legacy beasts, Qin also had 8 terrifying creatures, which were the 8 aquatic beast kings. Now that there was no longer any fighting, they had returned to the fish-scale world's oceans. Zhao Fu gathered them together. They were now 15,000 meters long and were much more powerful than before. However, in the face of battles involving billions of people, they were not as effective. These 8 aquatic beast kings were the war beasts that had dominated Qin back then, and they had long since been classified as kingdom beasts by Zhao Fu. Even though Qin had greatly nurtured them, it was very difficult for them to become stronger. Zhao Fu gathered them together because he wanted to continue to increase their power. The Spirit Maiden had already fused with 80% of the world's consciousness, and she could use the world's core energy. The world's core energy was the world's core energy, and it was many times more powerful than ordinary source energy. If he fused the world's core energy into the aquatic beast kings, it would give them a portion of the world beast's power. That way, the aquatic beast kings would become even more powerful, and they would be able to explode out with even more terrifying power on the battlefield. The 8 aquatic beast kings were quite delighted. They had always wanted to quickly increase their power, but they did not have the ability to do so. Zhao Fu put the 8 aquatic beast kings into his spirit pet ring and brought them to the ceiling heaven suppressing earth formation. He gave the 8 aquatic beast kings to the Spirit Maiden and asked her to use the world's core energy to help the 8 aquatic beast kings evolve. After resolving this matter, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. Now, Qin had all sorts of methods, but he was still in the process of nurturing them, so he needed time. Chapter 1819. By now, the inner regions of the ancient stem domain were also paying attention to this matter. In actuality, ever since the Aeolian Empire had come, in order to avoid trouble, they did not provide any help to the Devil Horn Empire and Qin Empire, and they paid less attention to this matter. However, the current situation was something that no one had expected. Originally, the three great powers and the alliance had already caused the situation to become tense and oppressive. Now, the Fire Flame Kingdom had joined the fray. This sort of scene was quite rare, as it was very rare for so many large factions to appear in one place. The battles between the factions were incredibly intense, and the surrounding worlds could only sigh in amazement. The most eye-catching of them all was naturally Qin. Back then, it had charged out of the human world and attacked 3 continents, facing off against the powerful Devil Horn Empire and the even more terrifying Aeolian Empire. The 3 factions had been forced to form an alliance, and now, the Fire Kingdom had joined in. Not only was Qin being attacked by 2 forces, but he also had to face the threat of 2 other great forces. It was really surprising that Qin could resist such great pressure. Because the situation here was simply too complicated, the inner regions of the ancient stem domain did not have the heart to support anyone, and it was possible that they would waste resources and materials. However, there were also a few forces that extended an olive branch to Qin. If Qin was willing to submit to them and become their vassal state, they would be willing to help Qin. In the face of the current situation, Qin really needed help. Otherwise, he might really die. It was the best time to subdue Qin. As for the Fire Kingdom, they were not afraid because they were also an inner region empire. Only the Second Aeolian Empire made them slightly afraid. However, the first Wind God could not even protect itself, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Yuxiong Kingdom and the Ancient Sword Sect were both enemies of Qin's, as well as the Greenwood Kingdom, the Ancient God Sect, the Wine Cloud Kingdom, and the Icefield Kingdom. Finally, the 8 Origin Dragon Sect had become a royal kingdom-level faction in the ancient stem domain before Qin. Perhaps some people were unfamiliar with this faction, but their young sect master was Long Yang, the person who had brought his 7 beautiful princesses around to play. However, after entering the historical remnant, his 7 beautiful princesses had become Zhao Fu's. Long Yang seemed to have fled back to the 8 Origin Dragon Sect. They originally had 6 worlds and a deep foundation, and they had advanced by leaps and bounds over the past few years, conquering 4 worlds and becoming a royal kingdom-level faction. Long Yang had found 8 beautiful princesses and cultivated the 8 Origin Dragon Sect's divine art. He had defeated the 6th-ranked person on the ancient STEM rankings, becoming the 6th-ranked genius, and was worshipped by countless people. After all these years, Long Yang had become a lot calmer and colder. He had put in a lot of effort to get to where he was today, because he could never forget the scene of his 7 beloved women having sex with other men. Long Yang swore that he would find that person, cut him into pieces, extract his soul, and torture him. Otherwise, he would never be able to vent his anger. Apart from him, the 3rd prince of the Bear Mountain Kingdom, Xiong Shao, had also come, and he had become the heir to the throne. At the same time, there were also some familiar faces, such as Bing Qixue, Qing Mu, Jiu Shaoyun, and Gu Qingyue. Finally, there was a young man called Jian Yin, who gave off a sharp sword qi that made it so that no one dared to get close. He was the new genius of the ancient sword sect, and it was said that his talent and strength were even greater than Gu Jian's. Gu Jian had been the most terrifying genius of the ancient sword sect back then, and he was extremely famous in the ancient stem domain. It was a pity that he had been crippled by Zhao Fu. The number 1 faction in the ancient stem domain, the Dao Cultivation Sect, had remained in seclusion because of the commotion that Zhao Fu had caused at the Emperor Path College. This caused the ancient sword sect's strength and reputation to greatly rise, and it had become the most influential faction in the ancient STEM domain. After rapidly developing over the past few years, it could even compare to the Dao cultivation sect in terms of strength. The various factions had sent them here as a test to see if they could subdue Qin. If they could, their positions in the factions would be unshakable, and Qin would be handed over to them. At the same time, they had sent the legatees to show their sincerity. If Qin was tactful, he would most likely agree, and if he did not, they might add more fuel to Qin's fire and speed up Qin's destruction. Zhao Fu personally received them. He sat in the palace and gave a trace of a smile as he said, "Why have you all come to Qin?" They did not pay their respects and stood in the palace. Xiong Xiao and Long Yang were quite displeased. Zhao Fu was sitting on the throne and talking to them. From how they saw it, without their interference, Qin would be destroyed sooner or later, so Zhao Fu should have been more respectful to them and personally received them. However, they understood that they had come to subdue Qin, so they did not show it. Jian Yin looked at Zhao Fu and said coldly, "I don't want to waste words. With the current situation in Qin, you most likely have no hope. The ancient sword sect has become the #1 faction in the ancient STEM sect, and if you submit to the ancient sword sect, no one will dare to touch you. This is the best choice for Qin. Jian Yin was the first to say this, making it difficult for the others to say anything. They all feared the ancient sword sect, as the ancient sword sect was simply too powerful. Zhao Fu was quite displeased with his attitude. No one in Qin had dared to speak to him like this, and he was the king of 9 worlds. Moreover, the ancient sword sect had great enmity with Zhao Fu, so how could Zhao Fu agree? Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he said, "Right now, Qin has no intention of submitting to anyone. If this is your goal, please leave." Jian Yin coldly looked at Zhao Fu and said, "Are you sure? Don't regret it in the future. Right now, the ancient sword sect is the most powerful faction. No other faction can compare to the ancient sword sect." These words caused the others to feel quite displeased, as Jian Yin evidently showed disdain towards their faction. Qin Muji lightly harumphed, "Your ancient sword sect is quite arrogant. If it wasn't for the Dao cultivation sect not coming out for some reason, would it be your ancient sword sect's turn? Moreover, no matter how powerful the ancient sword sect is, can it fight against all of the royal kingdoms in the ancient STEM domain?" Xiong Xiao also said somewhat angrily, "Jian Yin, you're too arrogant. Back then, even the ancient sword sect was not as arrogant as you. Be careful that you don't end up like the ancient sword sect. It seems that you haven't even resolved the matter with that mysterious emperor." Long Yang coldly laughed as he said mockingly, "Is the ancient sword sect very powerful? It seems that many people have been captured by that mysterious emperor, and it seems that even the sect master's wife has been captured. Who knows if she's moaning under that mysterious emperor?" Xing. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.